If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Right, come on, you four-eyed fat-faced fool. Tell us what's going to be in the new podcast from the Two Mikes.
Well, plenty of buffoonery from you and lots of sense from me. What else?
Yeah, in real life is Hayley from Coronation Street.
Really?
Julie Hesmandalala. You know, or whatever her name is. Julie...
Hezbollah.
No, not Hezbollah, no.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And I have to say that old Daniel Sturridge, does he protesteth too much?
Well, I don't know if he does, actually.
Does he protesteth too much?
He's taken a bit of a shellacking, and for whatever reason, for whatever unfortunate circumstances have befallen him, where he hasn't been able to play as much football as he would want to, I suppose maybe he's been advised, get yourself some good PR out there and make out that, fight back against all these people who say you don't want to play football, because I think it's a bit unfair on the boy, isn't it?
Well, I think it's a bit unfair on the boy. I just don't know why he suddenly decided that, a whispering campaign, which he says has been going on, has suddenly exploded and come to the surface. That usually means to me there's something going on behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, certainly one of the people who has been probably sort of front and centre of making accusations, albeit in a gloved way, is Jurgen Klopp. I mean, Jurgen Klopp's been one of the main sort of protagonists in this kind of whole story as to why he won't let him play.
Yeah, but I don't think he was talking about Jurgen Klopp, because it's next to him at the time, wasn't it? I think he was saying that, I don't want people to say that, I don't want to play for Liverpool and that kind of stuff. When players start speaking out like that to me, what it means to me is I think there's something going on. I'm not accusing Daniel Sturridge of doing anything unprofessional or anything.
He's just been unlucky with injuries.
Yeah, I agree. Anything against Liverpool or anything against, his professional responsibilities to professional football or to his club. But just bang, I don't know how that come out of nowhere, and that makes me think, well, I wonder if, there's a new direction, there's a new will, there's a new thought about it. I don't know, maybe he's had wind that Liverpool are going to buy somebody else who is a striker, and he wants to say to the fans and the club, and hey, hang on, I'm your number one, I'm committed, I want to do it. Who knows?
Also in the back of his mind must be the Euros, which are not that far away now.
Euros.
And I mean, if he doesn't get any more games between now and then, Roy Hodgson's not going to be thinking very much of putting him in the front line for England, is he?
And that's quite a good point.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you hit on that one, because that could be part of the argument. But professional footballers now have such a strong voice because they are such people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, they're always sitting there in front of a microphone at some point or other, aren't they?
And they are the richest members of our society.
Well,
I mean collectively.
Them, yeah.
No. Collectively, professional footballers are the wealthiest people who are employed in this country.
You mean in terms of like a sort of a profession?
Well, no, I mean in the numbers of them times what they earn.
Well, that's what I mean, as a profession.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, so we agree then.
What do you mean we agree?
Well, we agree. Why you?
No. Because you're trying to say...
You're saying collectively, because, if you were to take, I don't know, how many professional footballers are there playing in the Premier League, would you say?
Well, I would...
If you say 25 times 20 at a minimum.
I would say that. Yeah, I would say that.
What is that, 25 times 20?
25 times 20. Well, hang on. 25 times 10 is 250. That's 500.
Yeah.
500. Now, 500, and I reckon of those 500, they probably earn an average of £3 million a year.
And what you're saying is if you took 500 members of any other profession in the country, they would not be making that kind of money.
That's 1.5 billion, right? 1.5 billion. Now, I bet you, if you went and added up all the top QCs in this country for the work they did in the courts in this country every year... Well,
in order to do it properly...
They wouldn't earn 1.5 billion.
Well, no, I think they probably would. But
no, they wouldn't.
There would be more than 500 of them. I think what you'd have to do is take 500.
Yes.
If you took the top 500 QCs, perhaps...
Yes, that's right.
That would be the way
to do it,
And they wouldn't probably be making quite as much. If you took the top 500 bankers, they perhaps wouldn't be making quite as much.
No, they wouldn't.
They might be making $1 million plus.
One or two of them might be making 20 million.
Yeah.
In some deal or something like that. But the average return for a banker who's a partner in some, firm or something like that is about 650,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're right.
So
and
what's your point anyway?
What do you mean? What's my point?
So what's your point? So because they make the most money,
yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean they have the most influence in society.
Oh, no, it does.
Yes, it does. It does mean that people are interested in what they have to say.
No, it does mean they have the most influence in society.
No, it doesn't. No.
It does,
Rubbish.
because don't you understand that if you're the manufacturer of watches, which are very expensive, you are in competition with Rolex, with Tag Heuer, and all these other people.
And, what about those watches you wear? What are those ones called? Swatch.
Sorry, what's
Swatch?
What's your point?
Which watch are you wearing tonight then?
This
you wearing
one?
a Swatch tonight?
No, this is
the cheap Everton one.
No.
Which one? What is it?
It's a Pulsar.
Pulsar.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's a pretty good watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
£20.
they're competing all the time to extract that money from very wealthy people.
Yeah.
Therefore, they are aiming at them with glossy adverts in magazines.
Yeah.
Who do they want to walk through the door of their Bond Street shop when they want to sell an expensive watch? They would prefer it was a footballer.
Yes.
Rather than a QC, rather than a banker,
well, mind you, QCs,
rather than an advertising executive.
You don't tend to see QCs with those massive watches, do you? I mean, it's very much a football thing.
Well, yeah, but not all.
But you're not going to tell me that they're more influential, say, for example, than the top 500 MPs in this country.
Oh, they are.
Who don't make as much money,
but
actually make the laws of the land.
Yeah, but no. Laws of the land are one thing, but persuading people to do things that you want them to do is quite another. And that comes through popularity. That doesn't come through being elected into Parliament.
Well, that may well be, but there's plenty of footballers who are not that popular as well.
Most MPs, frankly, I mean, in my experience, most MPs put the needs and the requirements of their constituents way down the list of responsibilities they have in their job. I
think you're tarring them all with the same brush here.
Well, all I can say is this: anytime any MPs ever knocked on my door, and you get the old bang, 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 bang.
Well, they get inside the building.
Well, if they do.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not usually the MP, it's usually one of the gophers. And they say,
Well, when they bang on your door, it makes a more tinny sound, doesn't it? Because of that iron gate. It's not like that. It's more of a kind of a...
No.
Like that, isn't it? Tinny sort of sound.
No, I haven't got an iron gate.
You have got an iron gate?
I haven't.
It's like a prison door.
Honestly, I don't know why you mislead people into thinking that.
I've seen it.
You may have seen it, but you clearly can't remember what it's like. You were probably bladderated at the time. It is a florally designed piece of metal architecture.
Yeah, right.
It's nothing to do with an iron gate.
Metallurgy.
Now, what I'm saying is, somebody says...
Hey, what about your house, by the way? What about your old house?
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
I mean, you mentioned the address last night, which you probably shouldn't have done, right? Turns out, not only did somebody put a picture up of it and show where it is, it's for sale.
It's for sale.
And I've got it right here.
And not only is it for sale...
$275,000 under offer.
I know. It's unbelievable. I mentioned the address. I blurted it out. I said, I was brought up in this house. I mentioned it. Right.
Yeah.
Next thing I know is that there's a picture of the house.
Yeah.
And then after that, I said, by the way, did you know this house is for sale?
Yeah.
Then after that, pictures of every internal room appear.
Yeah.
And
well, that's generally what happens when the house is for
Some
sale.
of them are unrecognisable. There's a picture of the back garden, which is unrecognisable. Where did the fence go? Where did my dad's old concrete garage go?
Well, what I want to know is where your bedroom is, because there's only 3 bedrooms, right?
Yes.
And there was your parents.
Mine was the front box room.
There was your 2 sisters, and there was you. So which one of the bedrooms
Mine's
is
the
yours?
little one, the little box room.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there's one that has a large double room with fireplace recess. So
yes.
That wasn't it.
No.
That's your parents' one, right?
Well, it didn't have a fireplace when I lived there. By the way, do you know how much my parents bought that house for?
What?
In 1951?
I would say about 8,000.
No, £3,750.
Blimey.
And it's now for sale at what?
$275.
Good God. Why
don't you buy it?
Gracious.
Why don't you buy it and turn it into a Mike Parry museum?
Funny enough, I've had a few notes to that effect. Well, why don't you, I know this sounds ridiculous, but like the Ringo Starr's house was sold recently and they put a plaque on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody suggested I should buy it. And somebody will put a plaque on it and we'll turn it into the Porky-Parry Museum.
Yeah, well, that's what I just said.
Is that what you just said?
That, yeah.
My God.
Why not?
I mean, well, I don't know. I mean...
You could take all the stuff, all your memorabilia that's clogging up your penthouse place.
By the way, I've got lots of it. I've got lots of it, honestly.
I found your bedroom. Look, bedroom 3.
Is that it?
Ideal as a study or child's bedroom.
Oh, that's right. Well, it was a child's bedroom. It was mine. That was Porky-Parry's bedroom.
And a window to the front.
That's right, yeah.
7'8" by 6'4".
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is, the house is in a cul-de-sac, and it's the bottom but one down the bottom of the cul-de-sac where we have what we call the entry.
Yeah.
Which was literally an entry through to other roads. It's very northern. I think in the. In Coronation Street, they call it what do they call it? The Ganny or something, the Gurney. We didn't. We just called it the entry. And I'm not sure how much. In fact, you know what? in those days, people used to drive their car up between two other cars, one on either side, and then somehow turn round in the entry at the bottom and drive out again. It was unbelievable. I used to do it myself in my Vauxhall Viva.
One of the things that it says is an attraction of the place is that it has a turning circle.
Oh, well, maybe they've rebuilt it or something. But anyway, the point of my story is, what do you think the people of Laurel... Well, it was Laurel Grove, wasn't it? I said that last night. Would think about all these people traipsing down this cul-de-sac to visit the Porky-Parry Museum?
I'm sure they'd be delighted to see you back.
Do you think so?
Delighted to celebrate your celebrity, yeah.
That's amazing.
I just tweeted out the house, actually, so because I thought what I might do is ask people to tell us whether they think it should become the Porky-Parry Museum and what should we put in it.
Put a blue plaque on the side. Somebody designed a blue plaque for me today, and I said,
unfortunately, we can't read it out, though.
No, we can't.
It's too rude.
But, I mean, the thing is, without sounding sort of pompously vain or anything like that...
That's not like you.
No. I could buy that house and use it as a rental property if I felt that I wanted to, I don't know, buy it in... Why would I buy it? In need of the family history or something like that, or whatever?
Exactly, yeah.
So why would I want to keep it? It's changed very much inside.
What you do is...
It's been massively modernised.
What you do is you buy it and you return it to its original state.
Well, I couldn't. Well, I'd be returning it to a 1960s state, wouldn't
exactly.
it? Well, I don't live in a 1960s state.
But that's what would make it interesting, and then people would come and see it. I mean, like, all around the country, you can go and see, like, cottages that were the way they were when people lived there at the turn of the 20th century.
You mean like sort of...
like a living history type
like Anne
thing.
Hathaway's cottage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
See what you mean, yeah.
See what I mean?
I tell you what, there's one...
the time, by the way.
There's one near... Don't worry about the time, this is important.
It's very late.
There's one near...
Very late.
There's one near Monsieur Brazil's place. The constable used to live in.
Constable who?
You know, Constable the painter, you idiot, because he painted round there.
Right.
It's called Willie's Cottage.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, how nice for him.
It was Constable's mate, Willie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for useless information.
Yeah.
We are very, very late. I apologise for that. Porky's very excited about the Porky Museum. Tell us what we should put in it. This is Talk Sport.
Two TalkSport teams are about to go big as they take on the Heinz Big Soup Challenge on TalkSport with Heinz Big Soup. Listen to Colin Murray next Tuesday from 10 as the two intrepid teams pit their raw power against each other in a tough test of high hammer striking strength. Don't miss the Heinz Big Soup Challenge every Tuesday on the Colin Murray Show on TalkSport with Heinz Big Soup. Heinz Big Soup. Go big or go hungry.
What do you think?
Oh, that's lovely on you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it really suits you, Dad.
It's not too much?
No, it's lovely. It's really you.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's a fixed rate tariff too.
I'm betting the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's dead nice.
You shop around for clothes, so why not for energy deals? Switching energy suppliers could save you up to £200. And with our independent guide and links to Ofgem approved comparison sites, it's never been easier. Visit goenergyshopping.co.uk.
As much as light can be illuminating, it can also be blinding. But because the new BMW 1 Series with high beam assist technology dips the full beam automatically, oncoming traffic is never dazzled. And you can keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Enlightened thinking. The new BMW 1 Series. Pure BMW.
The Form Zone on TalkSport with Betfair. Listen to TalkSport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. Enter the Form Zone every weekend on TalkSport with Betfair's ACCA Edge, giving you cash back on trebles and above on all sports and markets if one leg of your accumulator lets you down. Selected bets only. Full terms at betfair.com. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Adrian Durham and Darren Goff.
I'll read it by Christmas.
Shall I read it to you?
Yeah.
This afternoon from 4.
If you read 5 or 6 pages to me every day, it'll be quicker.
As well, to help
Sleep
you out
deprivation, that's a terrible thing. Terrible thing.
Problems. Yeah, I know.
It can drive you mad, that, you know.
Well, it can drive you mad.
Yeah, I don't suffer from it, of course.
Well, I mean, we'll
I
find
don't need
out.
sleep.
Well, we'll find out, because the man may give you a couple of little tests to see. Now, how about this from Brendan down in New Zealand?
By the way, what was that song we were playing?
That was Paul Weller.
Paul Weller?
Strange Museum.
Oh, OK, yeah.
You know who Paul Weller is, don't you?
I know Paul Weller is, yeah. He's lead singer of a very famous band.
Yes.
Yes.
Called The Jam.
The Jam, that's it, yeah. Oh, I see. So that's in tribute to the Porky-Parry Museum.
Of course it is,
Excellent.
yeah.
I like
Very good.
it. I like it.
Brendan says this, shame you guys can't do an international 2 mics. You could stay at my pub and perform for New Zealand. free drinks until bankruptcy.
Where is it?
New Zealand.
Yes, which part of New Zealand?
He doesn't
nice
say.
to know. Well, I'll tell you what, if you'd like to give us some more detail, please, we are planning an Antipodean tour at some stage in the future.
I thought you didn't want to go to New Zealand. I thought you didn't like New Zealand.
I've never said that in my life.
You said Auckland was a boring place.
I've never said that in my life.
When I revealed to you that I used to do a column in a paper in Auckland.
Oh, yeah, but I said that just to wind you up because I thought you were writing for nobody. No, what I'm saying is that an Antipodean tour would take in, right, I've got the routes all planned out, Mike, Singapore, followed by Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, Wellington.
Wouldn't you go Perth, Melbourne, Sydney? Geographically, it's more economically viable.
Yes, you would, you would, yeah. That's right, yeah.
What about Adelaide?
Well, I
you
think
don't
it's
fancy Adelaide.
Well, it's a long way out the way, isn't it, Adelaide? You know what I mean?
Well, nothing's out of the way in Australia. You just keep going around the coast.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it's a long way round the coast, isn't it?
Yeah,
you ever done that drive from Perth to Sydney?
No, I've never been to Australia.
No, of course not. No.
Well, you haven't either, have you?
What?
You haven't driven from Perth to Sydney.
No, I haven't. But I was going to say to you is, remember
it would remind me of Wolf Creek, I'm afraid.
No. But the Wolf Blass is the great Australian one.
Wolf what?
Wolf Bass.
Wolf Blass.
Wolf Blass, that's it. Yeah. No, you know the editor we sometimes talk about with great fondness, Sir Larry Lamb.
Yes.
The man who drunk more as a Fleet Street editor than anybody in the history of Fleet Street. Yeah. And that is saying something. He once told me he landed in Perth and they got a 4x4 and he drove off to Sydney, but it took about 4 days.
Yeah.
And
it's a long way.
And the amount of fluid intake you have to take just to stay hydrated in that sort of heat, even with air conditioning in the car. And if you break down and your water runs out in 4 hours, you're dead. I mean, it is literally that harsh.
It's not really a very attractive proposition.
No, I don't think so at all. No. And of course, the sort of intake of fluid that Sir Larry would be interested in had nothing to do with water, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So he was doubly vulnerable.
How about this from Steve? He says, normally when somebody lives in a house, they put a blue plaque on the wall. Surely in this case, it would be a blue plank.
A blue plank, yeah, I like that. Well, what happened was, I joined in the fun this afternoon. Somebody sent me a picture of a blue plaque, okay? And I thought it was great. And they said, it's been in Chester since 1950 or something. And I said, no, it hasn't. I said, it's been in Chester since the Romans left. And that was about 64 AD. I said, so,
Well, there's lots of plank suggestions. Ian's another one. He says, Porky's old house would be like Chester's Graceland.
Yeah, it would, actually. That's
a plane outside.
That's a good
you should in fact put a Lambretta outside.
Yeah, a good comparison. Lambretta or maybe a Morris Minor, because that's the sort of car my dad drove in those days.
Matty says Porky should buy his old house and rename it Planky's Paradise.
Planky's Paradise, that's a bit harsh.
If he's man of the people, Porky's People Place. Well, Porky-Land would be right.
Or Porky-Land. I tell you what I think you'd have to do. You'd have to actually find a building in the centre of Chester, which is a beautiful city, of course, and just make a room of that, the old the Porkston Museum or something like that. But I'm talking about myself as I'm not here anymore. I'm talking about myself in the third person.
Yeah, I know, that's always a very bad sign.
It's a bit vain, isn't it?
Yeah, because whenever managers start doing that, because there was one, wasn't there one the other week? There was one particular manager who's always talking about himself in the third. In fact, it was Steve Sherwood used to do it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He used to talk about himself in the third person. Julian says he's got a mate who's put up his own blue plaque.
Yes.
He's got a picture of it here, so you can do your own. And it says English Hedonists. Bob Osborne, artist.
Oh, is it Bob Osborne who put it up?
Yeah, I think he put it up in his own house.
I wouldn't do that.
That's the sort of thing you would do.
No, I wouldn't. I used to. I tell you what, when I went into my special TV project, and had a studio down, I can't remember the name of the square it was now, but it was very close to Warren Street Station, so that was kind of. Can you remember the square around there? Fitzrovia. It's Fitzroy Square. Fitzroy Square.
Yeah.
Used to walk past this blue plaque every morning. Yeah. And it was the house where Virginia Woolf lived.
Oh, right.
And I thought I was fascinated because I never understood.
You're a big fan of the Virginia Woolf set, are you?
Well, not really, but
that was all kind of Bloomsbury area.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah. But I never understood the name of the play written by, was it Tennessee Williams?
Yeah.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yes.
Which was turned into a film starring Elizabeth Taylor. So I thought Virginia Woolf was some kind of some sort of werewolf or something like that. That's why I couldn't understand. I didn't understand it at all.
Werewolf?
Then I found out.
Werewolf?
Then I found out she was an acerbic writer who could cut people to pieces with literature.
You thought that Virginia Woolf was a werewolf?
I did, honestly. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I thought, is this some kind of female, Michael Jackson type figure? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not Michael Jackson.
Well, he wasn't a werewolf either, obviously.
But he was in Killer, wasn't he?
Killer?
Thriller. I'm sorry. He was in Thriller, wasn't he? 'cause it's a thriller.
We'll have to redo that. We should really do some Porky tunes for Christmas, shouldn't we? You know, with all the wrong words.
But you know when he turns into the werewolf, you know, at the start, I mean, it's a brilliant...
werewolf?
Yeah, John Landis's video, right, at the start of the... You know, when he's in the graveyard, he turns into a werewolf, doesn't he? Yeah, and then for some unknown reason, he then turns into a zombie.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean...
So there's two changes of character.
That's right, yeah. A massively talented man.
Yeah.
How about this one from Roger? He said, I've just read the details of Porky's old house for sale. Kitchen, bathroom, 2 bedrooms, knackered old shed, plus 1 locked room.
Knackered old shed and 1 locked room.
A lot of people suggesting you could put your blue shirt in the museum. That could be the first thing.
Well, which one? I've got about 30 of them.
Yeah, well, just the one that you're always seen wearing.
This is what I keep trying to remind people, you know. They keep saying, you've got the same shirt on. No, I haven't. I've got about 30 blue shirts, literally.
Yeah.
And I wear them in rotation.
But, I mean, the problem is, because they're all the same, it looks like you're always wearing the same one.
Well, they're not all the same. They're just similar patterns.
Crazy Taxi Dude says, no wonder it's up for sale. Have you seen the neighbour's house next door?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is no joke. I
mean, do you think any of the families that lived there when you lived there are still there?
I very much doubt it, but just in case I'm upsetting anybody, I will now declare that everybody that I live with in Laurel Grove were lovely people. Now, the people next door were... I mean, they were a strange family because... what's the problem?
You just said they were all lovely people.
Yeah. But they were strange because...
You think they said the same about you lot?
Well, maybe, but there were a couple who bought it, and they didn't have any children. They just had... funny enough, they had their father there, and his name was Old Fred Fisher.
What's wrong with that?
Well, he was about 80, but he had a motorbike with a sidecar, and the other two used to ride around. One of them on the back of the bike, and the other one in the sidecar.
Yeah.
Now, Laurie, who was the husband, you know, he was about 6'7", and Margaret, who was his wife, was about 5'2".
All right.
So they were an unlikely looking couple.
Yes.
But a very nice couple, you know, they're very good neighbours and that kind of stuff. But Laurie, unfortunately, he was a male nurse, by the way. He worked at the City Hospital where I was born.
Right.
And he contracted some shocking sort of, I don't know, some illness, which confined him to bed for the rest of his life. So, why do you think that's funny, to laugh at people's infirmities?
Well, just because the way you said it, confined him to bed for the rest of his life.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Yeah, well, they had to put a bed from the hospital. They shipped this bed over from the hospital where he worked and put it in the downstairs room. And whenever you saw Laurie after that for the next, 20 years, he was just in that bed.
Hey, I see there's a conservatory in this house.
Yeah, well, there wasn't when I lived there.
Has that been put on then?
Yeah, it must have been. Must have been stuck on the back. What we did is we converted the wash house, as it was then, into another room, which my dad used as an office.
So you can see that they've expanded the kitchen. Because look at the kitchen. They've obviously, knocked through the dining room or something
like
that.
That's right, yeah.
It's not an unpleasant-looking place.
I know, I'm sure it's very pleasant now. I was brought up in that house when we didn't have a fridge in the fridge. You
didn't have a fridge in the fridge?
In the kitchen. We just had...
Is that your room there?
We had a parlour. Let me have a look, please. I think that looks a bit too big, that one, to be honest.
That looks like the smallest bedroom.
No, that's too big.
Is it? All right.
And by the way, in that room, there's a radiator, right? We didn't have any central heating.
Right.
I mean, we talked about this before. There was ice on the inside of the windows when you woke up at this time of the year. Oh, yeah, it was hard times, man, but we got through it, you know?
Well, I can't find a smaller bedroom than that one.
No, there is. I've seen it, and it's almost an office. There's not a bed in it. That's why you can't find it.
Oh, well, that one there.
Let's have a look. Let me have a look again, please.
You seen the time?
Hang on a second. Yeah, well, you keep showing me these pictures.
Oh, just do it a bit quicker.
Yeah, that is my bedroom. That is the Portmeister bedroom. But again, there's a radiator in there, and we didn't have any radiators in my day.
All right, well, I'll send that picture out as well.
Okay.
This is Talk Sport. We got a load of stuff to do. We've got Porkyvision coming up. We've got Janusz Mikulik coming up in a little while as well, and a sleep deprivation expert.
Excellent.
Talk Sport.
Don't phone your mother. Phone Talk Sport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Atletico Radio.
Click about that in a little while.
Yep.
So, because I think pretty amazing that they're going to get into the Champions League quarterfinals.
Looks like it for the first time ever,
which is tremendous.
Yeah.
A couple of points of order. Daniel says Wolf Blast located in Adelaide, which is on the way to Melbourne from Perth. So we could go to Adelaide.
Hang on the way to Melbourne from Perth. Yeah, I see. Adelaide is right on the underbelly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what's the one at the top? That's Tasmania, isn't it?
Eh?
The one at the top of Australia.
Well, I mean,
Tasmania.
everywhere that's worth going to is on the south coast, basically, isn't it?
Well, no, Tasmania
Tasmania
right on the top in the Northern Territory is well worth going to. The only problem is
Are you sure Tasmania's in the Northern Territory?
I think so.
Really?
I think so.
I thought Tasmania was off the coast.
Yeah, but it is. But Northern Territory is the top bit of Australia, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
And as I recall it, Western Australia's got Perth and Canberra and the place where all the Fremantle, where all the yachting is. Northern Territory's got Tasmania, and the New South Wales has got Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and...
Well, Brisbane's in Queensland, isn't it?
Brisbane's in Queensland, that's right, yeah. And what's the capital?
You sure you've been there?
Yeah, of course I've been
Canberra's
there. Canberra's the capital,
yeah. Canberra's the capital.
Yeah, that's down there somewhere as well. And then, of course, you've got the Gold Coast, which is north, south, east, northeast.
Tasmania's an island off the south coast.
Off the south coast?
Yeah.
What's the big city on the north of Australia?
Well, Queensland is up in the northeastern
It's a city up there, isn't it? I think it's the city that Rupert Murdoch
Darwin?
comes from. Darwin?
No, Murdoch comes from Adelaide.
Adelaide, of course he does.
About Australia.
That's right. Yeah, I know all about Australia.
What are you talking about?
Listen,
Harjeet says, are you going to come to Kuala Lumpur?
Kuala Lumpur? No, I'm not going to Kuala Lumpur. It's in Thailand, isn't it?
What?
Isn't it in Thailand?
No, it's not in Thailand.
Where is it?
Kuala Lumpur is not in Thailand. Bangkok is in Thailand.
Oh, yeah. Where's Kuala Lumpur?
Kuala Lumpur is Malaysia, isn't it?
Malaysia, that's right. Yeah, I don't like going to places like that.
Why?
I always fear that at the airport, people look at me, think he's a bit shifty, and if I had a couple of drinks, they'll try and plant drugs on me.
Right.
To,
why don't you not drink then?
To make me a drugs mule and smuggle drugs out of the country. You know, and the sort of thing they do is they engage you in conversation in the bar, and then when you're not looking, they slip £1 million worth of cocaine or something into your bag.
Why would they do that?
Well, because they take a chance, and then you look like an innocent. You know, here's a middle-aged man. He doesn't look like a drug smuggler and all that. They don't search your bag properly. You get on the plane, and then when you get off at Heathrow, some guy knocks you over the head and runs off and steals your bag.
Is this what you go through life worrying about?
Well, I do worry about that sort of thing happening.
Really?
Yeah, of course I do.
You seemed to be worried about that when we were at Stansted last year, when we were going up to Glasgow.
Well, I didn't think that I would suddenly, get... dragged into any Scottish mafia-type operation to smuggle haggis to England, did I?
That was your first mistake.
Yeah.
Now, how about this from Mike? He says, surely South Pork for the Deluded
South
Fools
Pork.
Museum.
Yeah, I like it.
Freddie says, how about Porky's Plunkingdom? And M says, surely the Joan Collins and Bill Clinton pictures have to be the first thing in the museum.
Yes, we could have one of those. That's right. Put them up on the wall and let people know about the worldwide dominance I once had.
Speaking of going to Glasgow, by the way,
yes.
We are now in a position to say that we are going to Cardiff.
Well, it's a great announcement.
Following our trip to Manchester.
I love it.
On April the 9th.
I love it.
May the 7th.
Yes.
We're going to be going to the Tram Shed in Cardiff, right?
May 7th. I'm writing this down.
Yeah, write it down.
Tram Shed
in Cardiff. Now, the problem is a lot of people have discovered it because the Tram Shed put out an announcement on their Facebook page.
Okay.
The tickets aren't actually on sale until later on today.
Okay.
So for anyone who wants to try and find them on the Tram Shed website, we're going to send a link out later today.
We certainly are.
Because at the moment, if we send you a link, you can't actually buy any tickets. But the tickets will be on sale later on, hopefully later on this morning.
They certainly will. Where is the Tram Shed?
It's down sort of bottom part of Cardiff, down sort of almost
near the
like
Marriott?
the bottom of the High Street. Not far from the Marriott.
Not far from the Marriott.
Not far from the train station.
Well, in that case, it's not far from the Millennium, is it?
It's
the
not.
stadium?
No. It's kind of between the Millennium Stadium and the train station.
And what sort of a place is it?
Well, it's a sort of old warehouse that's
Excellent.
been done up as a very much more modern sort of music venue, comedy venue.
Bit like the garage in...
Not unlike the garage, yeah. And it's
in Glasgow?
It's seated, obviously, as people would like to sit down when they're watching us.
Yes.
And I've never been to the Tram Shed before, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I know Cardiff reasonably well, and I know you worked there for a while, so you should know it very well.
Yes.
But certainly in the 6 years that Wembley was closed down and the Welsh were very, very hospitable in accommodating the FA Cup final at the Millennium Stadium.
Yes.
We spent a lot of time there, mostly in the Marriott, because that's within walking distance.
Well, the Marriott,
of the ground.
as I've said to you, was where the Project X, as it was called, because it was a secret project, was all based for a while. We had a suite of rooms at
what was Project X?
Project X was the Welsh edition of the Mirror.
Oh, I see, right.
They couldn't announce it. Had to recruit people.
Too secret.
It was too secret, yeah.
That's right,
I actually had to sit in a room.
Was Harry Pugh from Unit 2 there?
He wasn't, funnily enough. But I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a few people who were, some of them you'll know.
Yes.
But do you remember when the Sporting Life shut down?
Yes.
Because they tried to rejuvenate it at Trinity Mirror.
Yeah.
Or at the Mirror, as it was in those days. And it shut down. And so all the people that worked on Sporting Life were shuffled into a room with me at Canary Wharf. Yeah. And I had to give them this big speech about this great project we were doing.
Right.
But I couldn't tell them anything about it.
Right, I see.
But I said, would you like to come and work for me?
Yeah. And they all said, project.
And they all said, well, to be honest, we wouldn't mind working for you.
Hang on, how many racing writers did you need on this new project?
No, there wasn't racing writers.
Sporting Life was mostly all racing writers.
No, you're wrong. No, they'd rejuvenated the paper as a kind of general...
Well, that's probably why it closed down.
As a general sports paper.
And the Racing Post took over.
Yeah. No, they reopened it as a general sporting paper, right? Yeah. So they had a load of sales. There was about 25 people who were either going to be made redundant or could come to work for me.
Yeah.
But the most ridiculous thing was that the chief exec said, I know this is a bit of a difficult one. He said, but just go into the room and persuade them all to work for you.
Yes.
Because we don't want to pay them off.
Yes.
And I said, well, what can I tell them? And he said, you can't tell them anything.
Right.
So I had to sit in this room and say...
So, secret project, come work for me.
Come work for me. Some of it may involve working in another place.
Yes.
But I can't tell you where.
Yes.
But you won't have to be there all the time. Mostly you'll be working here at Canary Wharf, but I can't tell you the hours.
What was the take-up rate?
I think about 5 or 6 of them came.
Out of 25?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Not very good hit rate.
Well,
no.
it was all right. It was okay.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Then some years later, they got made redundant anyway.
Yeah, Cardiff has a very lively nightlife.
It does.
So, that'll be a great experience.
Some great pubs down there.
Sorry?
Great pubs down there.
Great pubs down there. The other end of the high street we're talking about is the Hilton Hotel, isn't it?
I used to stay there mostly at the
Hilton.
Hilton.
Up near Cardiff Castle?
Up near the castle,
yeah. That's right, yeah. And there's one
very nice swimming pool.
Very nice swimming pool, yeah. I've been in that swimming pool, you're absolutely right. Really? And there is one particular restaurant in that high street where a very famous ex-rugby star usually goes and dines on match days when the rugby team are playing.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, people like to go in and see him and say hello,
right.
Which is rather a good sort of commercial spin on things, isn't it?
I found a very odd thing once in one of those restaurants in that high street in Cardiff. I was out with a young woman by the name of Jackie Stephen. Remember Jackie Stephen?
Yes, I do.
Who's a fantastic sort of fan of Welsh rugby.
Yes, she is, yeah.
Used to be the TV critic of the Mail.
Mail on Sunday.
And the Mail on Sunday.
Yes.
Still is, and does lots of stuff like that. And she and a bunch of other people, we were all out having lunch in this place. And I was standing by the bar, and I looked down, and I thought I saw like a chicken breast on the floor.
Yeah.
And I bent down to pick it up, and it was a sort of what can only be described as a fake chicken breast.
Yeah.
And it turns out that these, I didn't know what it was, and I picked it up and I looked at it.
It was like a breast implant.
Right. Well, it was. But it was like not an internal breast implant. It's the sort of thing that some women wear inside their bras to kind of, augment their cleavage.
I see.
And apparently it had fallen out.
Who did you belong to?
Well, we didn't know.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it wasn't any of the people that we were with.
No, right, I see, yeah.
It was with some... it may have been, but they'd
very
already
odd.
left. But wasn't that strange?
I'll tell you something about
very odd.
Jackie Stephen. Monsieur Brazil and I were on the train once to Cardiff, leaving Paddington Station.
Yeah.
And we were in a first-class carriage, and the only other person, I don't know for some unknown reason, that carriage, was this young lady who had a computer and half a dozen discs, which she was watching.
Yeah. Because she'd have to watch all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Job, yeah.
And I suddenly realised it was Jackie Stephen, who I hadn't met before. So we made ourselves known to her. Yeah, lovely woman. She then revealed she was a big fan of Talk Sport because, as you quite rightly say, she'd been to rugby.
Yeah.
We then spent the rest of the journey, in bladderation pursuit.
Right.
By the time we got to Cardiff, become best friends, she then moved into a suite in our hotel.
Right.
It was at the King David, which is on the bay, isn't it?
Oh, there's the David Spa.
Yeah, that's right, the Spa, that's right. Yeah.
St. David's, not the King
St. David's. We were doing a show that night ahead of the cup final the following day, like we were doing a meet the fans or something like that, and she stayed throughout the whole thing for the weekend. And it was a lovely lady, as you quite rightly say.
She's great fun.
Do you know she lived in 5 different cities?
Yeah.
She lived in London, Cardiff, Paris.
Yeah. New York.
And somewhere in Wiltshire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, she lived in LA for a long time as well. But anyway, maybe we'll get her on the show one of these days.
Indeed.
She's in Los Angeles.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about sleep deprivation. Porky doesn't sleep very much. He says it doesn't make any difference whatsoever to the general running and day-to-day operation of his life.
People are too obsessed with sleep, Mike. That's the problem.
I'm going to be suggesting to you that you need to get more sleep, and this guy is going to be telling you why. Because apparently, an awful lot of people think that they can get energy from certain foods and certain drinks, and they help themselves throughout the course of a day. But that can also sometimes mean that they can't sleep when they want to sleep, which is very weird. Well, my sleep pattern is all over the place at the moment. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we work strange hours and all that, but it doesn't affect me as badly as it affects you, because I'm home by 5 o'clock.
Yeah, true.
And if I then decide to go to bed, it's just like having a late night, really. Yeah. But I'm always up by 9:30.
Yeah.
I mean, the latest. I usually get up about 7:30, 8, to be honest, and get on with the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that suits me fine. And then I think what you do is, I don't know if this is physically the case, but maybe you store up the hours you need for the weekend. I do sleep longer at weekends.
Yeah.
At weekends, I try to go to bed, if possible, by 10 o'clock, certainly by 10 o'clock.
Really?
Yeah,
it's very early, that, for me.
Well, it's not for me, and I try to go to bed 4:30.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm getting like 6 hours or 6.5 hours sleep. Right. And I do that for 2 or 3 nights.
So do you watch Match of the Day on Sunday morning then, rather than
Saturday
always.
Night? Always. Right. Yeah, always. Yeah, funny enough. And I always think 10 o'clock is cut-off time for normal television, not Saturday night, of course, because you've got Match of the Day. So, but I just prefer it on a Sunday morning because I don't... Well, actually, funny you should say that, I don't watch the replay at 7 o'clock the next day. I pre-record it, and I watch it at 4:30 on Sunday morning, which I prefer, because then I can compare it with the papers that come in an hour or two later than that. Is there any question
you could just give a straight answer to?
Yeah, I've just given a very straight answer.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, we haven't got any more time for any more straight answers.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads of emails and texts and tweets to read out. You can email us, of course, at talksport.com. You can text us at 81089. I've got a text here from Russ in Birkenhead.
Yes.
Who says entries in Corrie are called ginnels.
Ginnels, that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've never heard that expression, actually, until Coronation Street. No, we never called it the ginnel. We just called it the entry. It's what it was.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you said it was similar to what you had said there. Here's one from Bridgend Hatter, who says, I'm a fellow night worker working 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. 4 nights a week. What else do you sleep in the day? I still struggle after 8 years. We'll get into that in a little while, because there's a whole load of things that apparently, when you have a lack of energy and a lack of sleep, that you make mistakes over. For example, have you ever done any of these things? Do you zone out or glaze over during important meetings?
No, never.
Really?
No.
Do you get confused? Do you get confused about what day of the week it is?
No, never. I've got full concentration at all times.
Really?
Yes.
Have you ever sent an email to the wrong person?
No.
Have you ever forgotten about a special occasion?
No.
Have you ever forgotten your PIN number?
No.
Do you do work that you've already done?
No.
Do you forget to go to a meeting?
No.
Mess up tea rounds?
No.
Well, you'd never do that, would you? You don't make tea for anybody.
No, I don't.
We've just got a nice cup of tea here, and I've got some more hobnobs as well.
Yeah, I don't eat those during the show. I'm professional, I don't let food get in the way of my delivery through my vocal cords.
Now, how about this one from Bob in Sheffield? This is Mike Graham going to tell us about his home where he spent his childhood and what it's like now.
Yes, please, tell us.
Well, I mean, I grew up in a flat, which a lot of people seem to think is unusual. But of course, I didn't think it was unusual because I never actually lived in a house until I bought one. All my life I lived in it was a top floor flat in a very nice part of Hampstead.
Yeah. There was no lift, was there?
No, of course there was no lift.
I've been there.
No, there was no lift, and originally...
There was no central heating.
Until I was 15, I lived in the top floor flat, which actually was only a one-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
And it was me and my sister and my parents. And my parents used to sleep in a divan. It was quite a big living room.
Yes.
Which had a divan where they slept.
Yes.
And a piano.
Yes.
Because my sister used to play the piano. And then my sister and I used to share the bedroom.
Right.
But then when she got to be about sort of 13 or 14, she didn't want to share a bedroom with me anymore.
No,
so
exactly.
I got kicked out of the bedroom. And I used to sleep in the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they put a bed in the kitchen.
Yeah.
A bed or a couch or what?
Well, it was actually it was sort of two mattresses from the couch.
Yes.
Which were just put on the floor. And I slept in the kitchen, and there was it was quite, relatively decent-sized kitchen.
Yeah.
And there was a...
and did you get a decent night's sleep?
Yeah.
All the time?
Yeah. Except for in the mornings, my father used to wake me up by wiping my face with a cold flannel.
Why?
Because he thought it was good for my character.
Yeah, and your parents slept in the lounge stroke what?
Well, it was just a lounge.
But, I mean, that sounds like a bed sit, if there's a bed in there as well.
Well, there was a bed in there. Yeah. There was a bed and a piano. And a fireplace and a TV.
Did you not think that was an odd arrangement?
No, because...
Do you think it is now?
Well, I mean, I suppose now it does seem a bit odd, but then...
exactly,
because it's the only thing you know. You don't think it's strange at all.
Well, my little box room in my house in Chester, which you've now sent out a picture of, I mean, it was the smallest bedroom you could imagine. You could only just about get a single bed in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when I was still, at school, 17 or 18, that was a very small bed.
Yeah.
And particularly if I was taking advantage of the empty house situation when my parents were out.
Inviting a young lady back?
Absolutely, from the age of about sort of 15 or 16 onwards.
Did you not just use the other bed?
Well, no, I know, because, I mean...
Why not?
Well, that would have messed things up altogether because...
Why?
Well, I'd never made a bed, so I didn't know, how you put things
never
right.
made a bed?
No.
Why not?
Well, my mum made all the beds and everything
you were
every
never
day.
taught to make a bed?
No, never. I never was. No,
that's ridiculous.
And in most days, you didn't have duvets. You can just pull over. You had sheets and things. You know what I mean? And divans.
So you were actually quite a spoiled child then, if you were never
I wasn't a
taught
spoiled
to do
child.
like that.
No. My mum was a full-time housewife, and that's what she did. She washed all my PE kit, washed all my clothes. She cleaned the house. She made the bed every day, made all the beds every day. That's what she did.
So you didn't make your own bed?
No, I didn't, no.
That's appalling.
No, I didn't.
That is horrendous.
Nobody ever asked me to.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know
that's
why.
not the point.
Yeah,
See,
well,
because my dad was in the forces, one of the first things he taught me to do was make a bed.
Well, my dad was in the forces. My dad lived on a Royal Navy ship for 6 years, so I don't know.
Well, he didn't make his own bed either.
No, of course not. No.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Anyway, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
What do you mean I wouldn't worry too much about it?
About what?
About what? You don't want me to worry about?
Well, you're almost telling us about the house that you grew up in as though you should be a bit mentally warped about it because it was a very odd way to be brought up.
I think in terms of you and I think there's only one person who's been mentally scarred by his childhood, and that would be you.
No, it's not. I'm not mentally...
Why
do you say that?
With every revelation, it appears that would be the case.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, because one of the reasons that you still have a very kind of, old-fashioned view about what women should be doing in the home is because you never had to do anything for yourself.
Who says I've got an old-fashioned view about it?
Well, you have.
I haven't. I just said my mum was a full-time housewife until we were about 14, actually. And then she got a part-time job at Browns of Chester, which was one of the top stores in the northwest of England.
But then she still did everything at home, though.
Yes, she did, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, there we are. I tell you what, funny you should say that about relationships and all that kind of stuff, right? Do you know that the old school tie is still massively important in this country?
The old school tie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but I mean, we have touched on this programme before, the fact that most actors now who've succeeded out of the British sort of cinema world are all boys from Harrow and Eton and all this kind of stuff.
Well, a couple of them are of recent times. They're not actually, though.
Well, where do you think Emma Thompson came from?
Well, Emma Thompson went to Camden School for Girls.
And Cambridge University.
Yeah, but I mean, Emma Thompson is one woman.
Where do you think What's-his-name came from?
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant, the man who plays himself in every film.
Where did he come from?
Oxford University.
Yeah, OK.
Well,
that's university, though. It's not school, is it? You said the old school tie.
Yeah, but I'm by the old school tie, I mean, the establishment and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you go to Oxford and Cambridge, you get involved in the footlights and all that. There is a very clear path into sort of the world of drama, isn't there?
Eddie Redmayne went to Eton College.
Yeah.
Adele went to the Brit School, which apparently is a very good school.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, actually. Where's that?
Adele?
Yeah.
Well, presumably it's some kind of musical
So
drama
in
school,
Wales,
isn't it?
Something? She comes from Wales.
It's a drama school.
Oh, it's a drama school, is it? OK. But what the latest report I've seen on this says this, that, let me see. Right, take medicine. 22%.
Take medicine. I try and avoid it at all times.
22% of people who practice medicine went to a private school.
That doesn't surprise me.
18% of barristers.
Yeah.
29% of the civil service. 35%.
29%?
29%.
Well, that's a very small number,
of the civil service. 1 in 3.
Yeah.
Private school, paid for fee.
Well, that means 2 in 3, didn't?
Yeah, but fee paid. That's huge.
Yeah, but it's only a third.
BAFTA winners, 35%.
So it's another third.
More than one third.
Yeah, but so more than 2/3.
That's huge.
Well,
That's huge.
But it's not as huge as the 2/3 who didn't.
Yeah, but Mike, hang on. Get it into perspective. There are only 5% of schools in this country are private schools. The rest are state schools.
Right.
But so that's 1 in 20, and yet 1 in 3. People in these professions come from private schools.
Yeah.
It's an enormous figure, isn't it, when you put it like that?
Well, it's not really.
It's huge.
I disagree. I mean, I think if it was more than half, I think I would be slightly more concerned. But in the end, if you've actually, to say 1/3 of anything is a massive number, it's not, because 2/3 of them are not.
1/3 of anything is massive if the pool is only 5% of the total, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you're getting at.
Only one school in 20 is a private school, and yet one person in 3 has a majority position in the civil service, in the military, in law, in medicine, and guess which other profession boasts 30% of recruits from private schools?
Journalism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, as we know, the thing about journalism is it tends to be separated out, doesn't it? I mean, certainly when you and I were in newspapers, you would say that there was not a third of people at the Daily Express who went to private school.
Yes.
However, there might have been more than a third of people, say, at the Telegraph who went to private school.
Yeah.
Because, again, there's these kind of well-worn routes.
Oh, actually, I've got this wrong. I've been reading this graph all wrong.
No, have you?
Sorry.
Really?
I'll get it right.
Okay.
Right.
We've got it round the right way now.
61 plus 16, that's 71. That's 70. Right, sorry. In medicine, 77% come from private or independent schools.
Right. Well, that's a much more important figure than a third.
In the civil service, it's 71%.
So now, because I've argued with you, you're changing the numbers.
No, I'm not.
I don't
just
believe
looking.
any of them now.
No, I don't.
No, you've got them all wrong.
I thought
you made a complete dog's breakfast of it.
I thought I was looking at one category only, which is selective, but in fact you have to add selective to independent, and the rest are just comprehensive.
I see.
And the comprehensive, the rest... Minimal in all these professions.
I don't think we can take any of this seriously now. You made a complete blunder.
No.
Blunder.
I don't make blunders.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to this one. Coming up, we're going to be talking about...
Justin Welby.
What about him?
Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yeah.
Eton College.
Yeah. Well, so what?
Well, I mean, that's a bit much. God's man on earth, and he's elitist. Not good enough. Feed the fishes to the people.
Yeah, OK. This is Talk Sport.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk.
Whether you're saving up for a trip to paradise or building your dream bathroom, the money you're putting aside is perfectly safe, protected by the FSCS up to £75,000. Should anything happen to your bank, building society or credit union, it's completely automatic, free of charge, and you'll normally get your money back within 7 days. You'll probably never need us, but it's good to know we're here. Search FSCS Protected to check you're fully covered.
Download the TalkSport app now.
Can he finish? Oh, yes, he can.
Listen live 24/7. Visit TalkSport.com/apps or your provider's app store to download today and make sure you don't miss a thing. Plus, get the latest news and features from TalkSport.com.
Way too easy.
Download the TalkSport app now.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. This is Play. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. Enter the Form Zone every weekend on Talk Sport with Betfair, where you can cash out in play on single or accumulator bets, so you can take your winnings before the end of the match. Selected markets conditions apply. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Colin Murray.
You would put him alongside Clooney in a movie.
This morning from 10.
Very creamy. Oh, we're in trouble here, boys.
Thursday.
Certainly would have been, mate.
Yeah.
He was born in 1943. He was the youngest Beatle. Sadly, he only lived until he was until 2001.
Yeah.
So how was he? 51. He's only 58.
Yeah, right.
43.
Well, he never really recovered from that kind of bizarre attack, did he, in his house?
That really crazy.
Which must have been horrible.
He was, I mean, just to recap there, he had this mansion at Henley-on-Thames, which is so big. I mean, he had 60 gardeners. That's how big it was. Because he really got into gardening when he sort of left the Beatles.
Right.
And if you remember, the cover of that song we just played was "My Sweet Lord."
Right.
That was the lead. That was the lead track on a triple LP.
Yeah.
In a box set, black and white cover.
Yeah.
Showed a picture of George Harrison sitting on a spade in his garden, looking like a garden gnome.
That's right,
with
yeah.
wellies on and a floppy hat.
Well,
and
that Martin Scorsese film that was made about him.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
Had a lot of interviews with his wife and his son.
It did.
And his son said that he used to just go out into the garden sometimes all night.
Yeah, that's right,
and
yeah.
he would just kind of work away.
Yeah,
Loved it.
Absolutely. I'm trying to remember the name of the house now in Oxfordshire, but it's just outside Henley-on-Thames.
Yeah.
It's a massive place. I've been there once. I mean, I've never been inside it, but, you know, I went there for, I don't know, some reason, standing outside the gate or something like that. And,
did you see him?
No, didn't see him, no. And only years later did I learn that they had a network of caverns underneath the house which he used to take people down to, and they used to get into boats and...
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, like underground sort of lakes and things?
Yeah, underground lakes and all that kind of stuff. An amazing complex, apparently. But anyway, as you quite rightly say, a nutter who sort of matched the madness of the man who shot John Lennon and thought that he had some claim to be George Harrison, arrived at his house one night, got over the fence because... In this country, you didn't really think you had to put up, barbed wire outside your house and all that. Got to the grounds and somehow hurled a massive statue, a statue that weighed about 6 or 8 stone, through the main window of his lounge.
Right. And he was crazed on some kind of drug, wasn't he?
He was crazed on some sort of a drug.
Yeah.
It was such a big house, but this guy must have had some information as to where George Harrison and his wife slept because their bedroom was just above it. And Harrison came running down the stairs, grappled with the guy who had a knife, shouted Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna 3 times at him to try and, ward him off or seek spiritual comfort or something. Then his son leapt into action, saved his father from being murdered.
No, was his son there? I thought it was his wife that leapt into action.
I think it was his wife. I think you're right, actually. I think you're right. I'm sorry.
I don't think his son was there.
No, I think you're right. I think it was his wife. Leapt into action. Nevertheless,
she whacked a guy. Because in the movie, she talks about how she whacked a guy with another statue or something like that.
That's right.
And she didn't quite know where she got the strength to do it from, but she just managed to get the guy. Because he said he had this kind of superhuman strength.
Yeah, that's right.
From these drugs he was taking.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. But by that time, George had been stabbed. A number of times. But you're absolutely right. For some unknown reason. A year or so after that, we got the first reports that he was being treated for cancer, and he died 2 years after that.
Yeah, right.
It was shocking.
Very sad.
It was very, very sad,
because he'd done some amazing musical work as well, with the Travelling Wilburys and all that sort of stuff that he'd done. And I forget about the Mice Week Lord album. I mean, he did lots of really good things.
Oh, terrific stuff. And you've got to remember, the problem was he was never allowed to flourish within the Beatles because Lennon and McCartney were writing so many songs. I remember one of the books I read, one of the producers, probably Phil...
Spector.
Sorry, George Martin. It's probably George Martin. He said something like, look, he said, George was never able to get one of his songs on an LP. He said, because Lennon and McCartney were writing songs so rapidly, it was like they had an electric typewriter that never switched off. It just kept churning out songs. And so everyone
but also,
came
you can
off,
imagine presumably the scene when they were sitting there deciding which songs would go on which album.
That's right.
And, you wouldn't want to be somebody other than Lennon and McCartney, would you? Because you can imagine they would have been quite, I suppose, territorial.
Well, I suppose also somebody like George Martin, the producer, would say, actually, we'd rather have songs that have the title written by Lennon and McCartney, because George Harrison had not established himself really as a great songwriter, and yet Frank Sinatra said that Something, which was his classic hit with the Beatles, it was the second track on Abbey Road, thank you, was the greatest love song ever written.
While My Guitar Gently Weeps as well was one of his.
That was on the White Album, wasn't it?
Which is another fantastic album.
I think it is, fantastic. So anyway, there you go. So George Harrison, I didn't realise George Harrison had been dead that long. 2001, that's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember to this day, Paul McCartney being asked about it and said, it's like losing your little kid brother, because he was the youngest member of the Beatles.
Yeah, amazing.
Very sad.
Very sad indeed. How about this one from Ian, who's texted it? He says, Mike, what was it you said about sleep deprivation? The plank next to you said he was fully focused at all times.
Yes.
And then goes on to deliver the most incompetent bit of radio ever about people who go to private and independent schools. Classic Parry.
No.
Classic.
No, all I did was the thing is...
How can you invert the figures?
I was looking at a pie chart.
Right.
And
that's pretty straightforward.
I misread the colours which indicated private education, independent education,
Easy
comprehensive education, self-taught.
Yes.
But I mean, the point I was trying to make, and I think I did make rather well, is that the vast majority of people in the military, the civil service, the church, and even journalism, and certainly in acting, come from private or independent schools.
I don't agree.
I thought I'd let you know that.
Yeah, rubbish. Here's what Rob says. How can Porky continue to claim to be man of the people after his snobby private school remarks?
What do you mean? I'm not. All I'm doing is reporting on the facts and the figures. I'm not saying I support it or I don't support it. I'm just reporting on the figures, okay?
Danny says, do you think he made that mistake about the schools because he was tired?
No. Listen, I'll tell you something that does make you tired, drinking too much wine, right?
Yes, I imagine so.
I want to know whether or not we can get a plan together to bring out a new label called The Two Mics.
The Two Mics Wine?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, I suppose it depends on whether I'm sure getting a wine produced by a particular vineyard is easy enough to do.
Oh, it's easy enough, yeah.
As long as you give them some money.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Why don't you get your own vineyard instead?
Well, maybe,
right.
but I mean, that would be very expensive. And also, we don't know about wine. So I'm thinking we should do this. And
you don't know about wine.
I don't know. I know about drinking wine, that's all.
No, but don't say we don't know.
No.
It's not the royal we. You don't speak for me in this area.
Well, you don't know anything about wine.
Of course I do.
Rubbish.
I know an awful lot more than you do, which is not very much.
Okay, where does the Sauvignon grape come from?
Where does the Sauvignon grape come from? Well, it's grown in very many different areas, isn't it?
Oh, yeah? And what sort of soil?
What do you mean, what sort of soil?
You don't know, do you?
Well, it doesn't matter what sort of soil it is.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
I bet the Sauvignon grape is in France. You can also buy Sauvignon
What's
from
the name
Australia.
of the vine on which the Sauvignon grape is grown?
What?
What is the name of the vine on which the
I've
Sauvignon
no
grape...
idea.
You see, you know nothing.
Well, you tell me then.
I'm not going to tell you, because you
Tell
said
me what it is.
No, you said you knew everything about it.
No, I didn't say I know
Yes, you
everything
did.
about it.
Yes, you did.
I said it is wrong to characterise me as know nothing about wine.
What's the name of the Beaujolais berry?
What?
The Beaujolais berry.
The Beaujolais berry?
Yeah.
That's not a real question.
It is.
You're just picking these up out of the air now.
No.
Well, why don't you tell me the answer then?
Because I refuse to.
You can't give me a quiz on wine if you don't tell me the
I
answer.
refuse to help you fill out your knowledge of wine when you've just made that ridiculous boast.
I haven't made a boast. All I've said is it's wrong to say that I know nothing about wine.
Now, let me tell
you. You've completely and utterly exhibited your ignorance by asking me two completely duff questions.
No. Let me tell you why I'm telling you all this, okay? Because I've discovered through reading my wine journals that people like Graham Norton has his own wine.
Yeah.
David Beckham, Sir Cliff Richard, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and even the legendary filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do you know who else has his own wine?
Well,
a photographer that we both know called Anwar Hussain. Who is the
Anwar,
brother of
yeah.
There was Akhtar Hussain, who lived in Texas. His brother Anwar,
who
lives in Wiltshire, who was made a fortune being a royal photographer during the years of Diana.
That's right.
He owns his own vineyard.
Really?
Yeah.
And where is it?
In France.
Oh, I see. You said he lived in Wiltshire, I thought.
Yeah, he does live in Wiltshire.
So he's got a vineyard in France.
Well,
why
can't you have a vineyard in France if you live in Wiltshire?
I suppose you could. Graham Norton is a shareholder of a winery in New Zealand.
Yeah.
David Beckham is a keen wine drinker and has a vineyard in the Napa Valley in California. Sir Cliff Richard owns a 16-acre vineyard in the Algarve in Portugal.
Okay.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Well, why don't you look into it and spend some of that money sloshing around on a vineyard? I wouldn't mind that.
Francis Ford Coppola has got his in the Napa Valley as well. Well, I just thought that it might be a nice way to sort of, spread a bit of largesse, a bit of goodwill. Everywhere we go, we could drop a couple of bottles of the old Two Mikes. What could we call it then? Two Mikes doesn't sound like a wine.
Well, no, it doesn't. But, I mean, what do they call theirs?
We could call it... what about Micah?
Pardon?
Well,
maybe we should get... Well, that would be an Estonian winery.
No.
Micah.
Yeah, let's call it, the Micah brand or something.
The brand names are obviously not your strong point.
Well, go on. You think of something else then.
Go on. Come up with something else. You don't have to do it in the process of 5 minutes. Why don't you do a bit of research
and
find out how much it would, how easy it would be to do?
What about Paragram?
Paragram?
Yeah.
No.
Like, my name first and then a bit of yours afterwards.
No, there's nothing worse.
Paragram.
There's nothing worse than coming up with some brand that nobody recognises.
Make a paragram. How about that?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
I like that. Would it be white or red?
Well, I think you should have to do both.
Would we? I think we'd have to concentrate on a white, I think. I'd prefer a white one.
Well, I mean, to be true, if you want to do it on your own,
you should just
knock out some $2.99 Pinot Grigio from Romania.
No, I don't think so.
That'd be perfect for you.
I don't think so.
Perfect for you, man of the people.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're running out of time, as usual. Coming up next, we're going to be explaining why Mr. Parry keeps forgetting what he's doing.
What?
This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and of course we are here until 4 in the morning, which is quite often why sleep deprivation is something that we talk about quite a lot. There's a lot of people listening to us, Mr. Parry, are of course working at night. Some people are listening to us during the day on the podcast, but from time to time...
there's a lot of people around the world, of course, for whom it's daytime.
For whom it's daytime, yeah. But for a lot of people listening at the moment, it is night time and they're working, and so sleep deprivation can be a problem. We're going to talk to Dr. Chris Winter now, who's a specialist in sleep and also a neurologist. Let's find out from him just precisely how to maximise the amount of sleep you should get and how to get the best out of it.
Indeed.
Dr. Chris Winter, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, my colleague to my right here, Mr. Parry, is constantly telling me that he only needs about 3 or 4 hours sleep during any particular 24-hour cycle in order to be as efficient as he would always be. I tend to need an awful lot more sleep than that. And I wonder whether sometimes he is saying something like that in order to make out that he's in some way superior to me, and whether he's making a mistake by not sleeping enough.
Yeah, I would say he is. Most individuals, the newest recommendations that came out recently said that adults should be getting somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of sleep on average a night. So, you shouldn't panic if one night you get 6 or if you sleep in one weekend and get 10, but by and large, that's the target most of us should be looking for optimal health. And there's a researcher, Tom Ross, who came to the conclusion that it's really fairly impossible to average much less than 5.5 hours of sleep per 24 hours for any extended period of time.
Okay. Now, Doc, the problem I have is that I do work sort of irregular hours. That doesn't bother me at all. But if I try to sleep for more than 3 or 3.5 hours, I cannot actually go to sleep. I'm lying there fully wide awake, and that to me is boring, it's lifeless, and it's a waste of, any part of the 24-hour day. So I get up and I move around, and I don't feel like going to bed again until, sort of 20 hours later or something like that. Now, I can't help that. What am I supposed to do if you say that it's not good for me? How am I supposed to induce myself into taking more sleep?
I don't think you necessarily need to do anything. I mean, I think one of the themes that we talk about a lot for our patient is that if you whatever number of hours of sleep you're getting, if you feel good the next day, then it's probably working out for you. But like I said to you the last time I think we were on, is that I think you should put that to the challenge, and you have access to media and cameras, and you've got this big audience. I mean, you could really make history if you had some sort of camera, strapped to your chest that was facing back at your head and followed you around 24 hours a day. I think what you would find is that you're under the perception that you're only getting 3 hours of sleep per 24. But there are a lot of, I tell people all the time, perception of sleep and reality of sleep are two different things. I had 2 people today, in my clinic who said they don't sleep. And that is their perception, that they get in bed and they may sleep for an hour, but then they wake up and then they just sort of toss and turn and are awake for the rest of the night. Now, if you put a camera on that individual, I can assure you they sleep far more than 1 hour a night, and I would bet you sleep on average more than 3 hours a night, but maybe I'm wrong. You should prove it. Now, I can tell you this, if you truly are averaging 3 hours a night over extended periods of time, it's scientifically worthy. It would be big news because nobody thinks you exist. Science does not think you exist.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. I have been big news in other parts of my life, so that's something worth looking at.
Well,
definitely.
He's also recovered from a fatal heart failure, apparently. So, I mean, this man is a walking medical miracle. Or perhaps he just tells a load of stories that nobody can figure out.
Well, that's a terrible thing to say.
Let's talk about the lack of energy, though, that people suffer from, because, as you say, Dr. Chris, it's easy enough for people who sleep overnight, I suppose, to get 7 hours sleep, 8 hours sleep. But when you're sort of fighting daylight hours away and you're trying to sleep during the day, it's not always easy to get it all at once. But there was a study done here just the other day which basically said 62% of people in this country have routines or habits which somehow could be to blame for their general lack of energy during the day, and so it's things like they eat food that they think gives them energy, or they drink things that they think gives them energy, and obviously that's very important to you as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, just shift workers alone generally average about 6 hours less sleep per week than the same worker working the same job during the day. So when you're just looking at the millions of people who are engaged in work like you guys, or people who are working in hospitals all night long, or toll booth somewhere in the middle of the night, factory workers, those individuals have significantly more health problems than individuals who work day jobs. In fact, the World Health Organization now classifies shift work as a cancer-causing thing. It's a carcinogen. So it is very difficult for just that population to get the sleep they need. So between nutritional changes, between individuals who are not exercising enough, between people who are not getting the sleep they need for whatever reason, all of those things can sum to make people feel fatigued and tired the next day.
Now, Doc, first of all, you've now described me as a miracle, which I'm very grateful for because, that will help me to explain to our millions of listeners what I'm all about. But secondly, I have read a report only this week in a medical journal in the United Kingdom that too much sleep, scientists now believe, could make you vulnerable to strokes. If you stay in bed for 9 or 10 hours, it's not good for you.
That's correct. So when you look at sleep need, when we talk about 7 to 9 hours as being perfect, what's interesting is it's sort of this bell-shaped curve, meaning that there's risk on the left side of not getting enough sleep, and there for years has been thought to be risk on the right side of people sleeping too much, even when you control for people who are depressed or who are sick and therefore spending more time in bed. There's absolutely data to suggest that people who spend too much time in bed are putting themselves at cardiovascular risk as well, and stroke is a big one.
Indeed. I think people who... You see, I don't understand how people can, for instance, sleep when light comes up. So if I'm trying to catch up on sleep at weekends, I would prefer to go to bed at 10 p.m., obviously in the United Kingdom, but then get up at 4:30 when the sun starts coming up, because I think it's criminal to waste 1 minute of daylight, particularly in the summer months.
Well, I mean, we were designed to sleep that way. So light, the loss of light or the gradual increase of light that you see with the sunrise does specific things to our brain, particularly with melatonin, to make us feel more sleepy and more awake. So it's a very natural thing to want to wake up as light enters our eyes, and very natural to want to sleep when it exits our eyes. If you go camping, you're sitting out there by the fire and you actually get to see the light slowly fade away. It's really sleep promoting. So I would say that this habit or this trend of yours is very natural and something that should be encouraged.
How do you tell the difference between somebody who likes a lot of sleep but somebody who's bone idle and likes to spend a lot of time in their bed? We have a lot of people in my life. I can't stand idle people. And you get all these people who never want to get up, never want to do anything.
But is that why you're always making out that you don't need any sleep? Because you frighten people who'll think you're bone idle?
No, not at all. But bone idle people just won't get up in the mornings, Doc.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we try to differentiate between is, are you indeed sleepy? There's some people, like if you have narcolepsy, these individuals can sleep a full night. They wake up, they have their toast and tea, and they're ready to go back to sleep again, and they can't control that, versus somebody who's simply fatigued, somebody who has no energy but is not necessarily sleepy, like a long-distance runner is going to feel very fatigued, but not terribly sleepy. They're not laying down in the middle of their race and on the road and going to sleep. So, we're looking at trying to differentiate between those two things, because if somebody is fatigued but then tries to go to sleep, they're going to fail. And they're going to be sitting there idle in bed.
Can you ever have too much sleep?
I mean, I think so. I think that's what this research is kind of showing, that the individuals who are seeking too much sleep, who are 10, 11 hours, that the body really doesn't like that either. I always compare sleep and food. I don't want you to get too little food because you'll starve to death and waste away, but also don't want you to eat too much either. It's definitely like this sweet spot in there where you're going to get optimal health.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting stuff. Dr. Chris Winter, thank you very much.
Thanks,
indeed.
Doc.
Sleep specialist neurologist. I hope you might have learned something from what you had to say.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, to be honest, thank you very much for coming on to the doctor. I'm glad to come on, but I'm not sure he knew what he was talking about, to be honest, because, none of that seemed to make a lot of sense to me.
Really?
And he called me a miracle. call me a miracle.
Well, I think he was casting aspersions on the fact that he said that you think you don't sleep for more than 3 hours, but you actually probably do.
Well, that's why I'm not sure he knows what he's talking about. I know that I'm not sleeping if I'm driving my car, walking around, dealing with business or something like that, sitting at a desk and doing it. I'm definitely not sleeping.
Yeah, but I worry about that. You see, I worry that your sleeping habits are just kind of not good enough.
He must be dealing with patients who come and say, I only slept 3.5 hours last night, Doc. He says, no, you didn't actually. You slept 5.5. So where did they get the other 2 hours from? Are these people sleeping on buses, travelling to work or something?
No, but you can
have.
Or
they just deciding as they walk through a supermarket, I think I'll lie down on the potatoes and have a rest.
But I've had this before. Sometimes you have what you might call fitful sleep, and you think you're waking up every 10 minutes or so. But actually, if, as he says, you put a camera on you, it turns out you're probably sleeping quite soundly for quite some considerable period of time.
I don't get all that, mate. And you asked the doctor the question I asked him. I said, look, we've got a report in this country saying people who sleep too much are now prone to strokes. A few minutes later, you said to him, can you have too much sleep?
Yeah.
10 or 11 hours.
Yeah,
I mean,
because that's a sensible question. There's no point asking somebody a ridiculously stupid question.
Like what?
Like, are you going to get a stroke if you sleep too much? No, that's not the question.
But I asked him about the report that said you will get you're prone to strokes if you sleep too much.
But he said that was nonsense, right?
So I don't know. No, he didn't.
Yeah,
he said. So I don't know why you have to ask him that question again. Your problem is.
I said, is it possible to have too much sleep?
You're trying to
which
justify.
Is a completely separate question.
You are trying to justify what you do. And you sleep far too much.
No, I don't.
You sleep far too much.
No, I don't.
Honestly, you should be ashamed of the amount of time you sleep.
Which one of us is more in control of our faculties?
Which one is more control of our lives?
Yeah, well, you just tried to explain something to me which nobody could understand. So I think I rest my case with that.
You've got to remember, you can't have a grip on the world if you're fast asleep.
Yes,
I have a grip on the world.
No, you haven't got a grip on. You haven't even got a grip on your own brain. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. Porkyvision coming up in the next hour. We're going to talk to Peter in Leeds in a moment, who plays walking football. Do you remember we talked about that the other day?
Yes, I do.
A couple of interesting lines have come in, though, for your suggestion that we put some wine out.
Yes.
Ian says, how about a wine named after Porky? It would be full-bodied and have no taste. Let's call it Blue Shirt Nun. John says, how about Chateau Neuf du Planck?
Chateau Neuf du Planck.
Tony says, Bladero Sauvignon.
I don't mind that. That sounds all right.
De Michel's, says Danny. A little bit of French for you. And Carl says, how about Planck's Plonk?
Planck's Plonk? Well, I know these are
I don't think they're taking this very seriously.
I don't think they're taking it seriously.
Let's talk to Peter and see what he's all about.
Indeed.
Peter, very good morning to you, Peter.
Hello, Mr. Parry.
Yes, good morning, Peter.
He's not the only one here, you know.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. And the other Mike.
Thank you very much.
That's Mr. Graham, actually.
Mr. Graham, I do apologise.
Yes. What would you like to say, Peter?
Well, we were listening to the radio the other night, and Mr. Parry made some really not very nice comments about the walking football.
Right, okay.
And it's a big thing in Leeds, Sheffield, Barnsley, Nottingham, Grimsby, all them areas. And it's a very, very high standard, some semi-pro play as well. And it's a very skillful, hard game to play.
Sorry, what is?
Walking football.
Yes.
It can't be, Peter. It can't be. It's played at the pace of a snail. How can you require any skill to do that? That's like saying it takes great skill to pick up your shopping bag at the door and walk to your local supermarket.
Well, while kicking a football, it would, wouldn't it?
No, you don't kick it all the way there. You walk into position, receive the ball from your teammate, and then kick it on to somebody else. Anyway, please go on, Peter, yes.
Well, what I would like to say, I must admit, I had the same attitude until I started playing it.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. You have to be extremely fit. So what we would like to do is put a challenge to yourself.
Yes.
And if it's so easy, you're welcome to come along and have a game and see how long you last.
Peter, I'd love to, but I can't. Only 1/3 of my heart works. You know, I have acute heart failure.
You can't criticise us if you can't play yourself, Mike Parry.
Pete, as a spectator sport, this probably ranks alongside watching grass grow, right? Because, you know, it just doesn't work. I mean, all right, I'll ask you then. As a spectator, would you go and watch a game of walking basketball?
Well, it's a different sport altogether, that, Mike.
No,
totally different.
yeah, but you can't.
Well, yeah, but there's a big difference as well between watching something and playing it. I mean, rock climbing's not very interesting to watch.
Peter
However,
just
lots
told-
of people want to take part in it.
Peter just told me it was an exhilarating game.
But as a player,
Can't
he's
be
talking about. He
exhilarating.
says it's exhilarating as a player.
Peter, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 56.
Right.
Why don't you ask Porky how old he is?
No, that's
How old are you,
irrelevant.
Mike?
That's irrelevant because I'm not the one who's playing. What I'm saying is, Peter, at 56, you should be capable of still running around to play five-a-side football, OK? A lot of my mates of that age do, right?
I can.
So to take part in a sedentary game like walking football...
What sort of game?
Sedentary game like
sedentary.
Walking football, which is frankly not even a sport. It's not recognised by any sporting body. Do you know what it is?
Mike,
To a bunch of
do you know
blokes
how
who
many
want to play
people
football...
You are insulted. Do you know how many people you are insulted?
Hardly anybody plays walking football because it's a dopey pastime. Hey, unless your part of the world is full of dopes, Peter, without me being rude, you know, I can't see how it can possibly happen.
Mike, I think what you should do now is put balaclava. Do not come out to Talk Sport because we'll be surrounding Talk Sport studios to get you because these guys are fit. 75,
Well, if they're fit, do a proper sport then.
It.
If they're fit, go off and play squash or something, or tennis or something like that.
Is it five-a-side, Peter, or is it like 11-a-side?
No, it's 9-a-side, 11-a-side,
All right.
and it's very highly skilled. You've got to have a fantastic first touch. You've got to have a passing ability. The only thing you don't run. That's all. You just walk very fast.
But I mean, so when you say walking, I mean, would you describe it as walking? Can you walk as fast as, say, they do in the walking races at the Olympics?
You can walk as fast as you can as long as you don't run.
Okay. And
So,
what about, is the offside rule in it, in effect?
There's offside rule in it. There's fouls. There's no slide tackles though. No heading. Everything else. The only thing, and it's excellent. It's enjoyable to play.
So you're allowed to jump then if you head.
Yeah.
So say for example you're in a corner situation. The ball comes over. How can you? You can only jump from a standing position. Then you can't run and jump.
Well, yes, and it works very well. You should watch it.
You seem to be changing the rules here, Pete. I mean, you just said, it's just like ordinary football, except you don't run. Oh, you could say Andy Murray plays walking tennis. It's just like ordinary tennis, except he hasn't got a tennis racket. I mean, it's a load of gobbledygook, if you don't mind me. In fact, I think you've rung me up to wind me up. I'm not sure you do play it at all.
Peter, I don't think he's going to come and play with you, but you never know. Maybe you should come down here, and there's a little five-a-side pitch across the road from Talk Sport. And we'll get you
good idea.
Walking over there. Here's one from Corby Cliff, he calls himself. MG, Porky must get loads of sleep because he's in dreamland all the time.
I am not.
John says, Porky says he only gets 3 hours sleep every night. Then he said he likes to go to sleep at 10 p.m. and wakes up around 4:30 at 5 o'clock at dawn. When I went to school, that added up to 7 hours.
Yeah. 10 till 4:30, 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
And I'd already said to you, and I'm sure you will endorse this, I said sometimes at weekends I catch up on sleep by going to bed at 10 before much of the day starts and get up at 4:30. Did I not?
You did.
Yeah, OK. Well, that's that explanation.
Well, which means that it's not true to say you only get 3 hours sleep every night, then, is it? You only get 3 hours sleep some nights.
All I said to you was, if I go to bed and after 3 hours I wake up, I can't get back to sleep again. So that could happen 7 nights a week. It just sometimes doesn't. That's all.
Ross says this: I have worked nights now for 6 years, and I'm 26 years old. My shift time is 5:30 until 6 a.m. That's a long shift, isn't it? Monday to Thursday.
5:30 till when?
Till 6 a.m.
5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
What, a 12.5-hour shift?
That's right.
How many nights a week is that?
4 nights, Monday to Thursday.
4 12s or 4. That's a 50-hour week.
It is.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Congratulations.
Yes.
I have blackout blinds and I sleep 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Weekends I stay up late as I'm out with friends and I get hardly any sleep Friday or Saturday. But Sunday nights I sleep around 12 hours into Monday afternoon. Touch wood, I haven't been to the doctors or had any illness since I started doing that.
And what's the guy's job?
But he's only 26. He doesn't say what his job
Is he a warehouse man or something like that?
He doesn't say.
Yeah, OK. Yeah.
Perhaps he's a bog cleaner.
No, it would be a bog cleaner. They don't clean bogs for that long. What he's more likely to be is one of these workers at something like a 24-hour Tesco's or something like that. You know what I mean?
Derek in
goes in and
Pencoed.
starts stacking the shelves.
Derek in Pencoed says he has trouble sleeping. Sometimes I only get 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes I can't sleep at all.
In Pencoed?
Yeah.
That's why he just tunes in and listens to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Derek is a bog cleaner. I'm proud of it.
Yeah,
he should be. It's a fine profession.
It is a fine profession.
I'm going to buy you a brush.
This is Talk Sport.
He's got the numbers on the players, the triumphs and defeats. Got the form on the football weekend and the rumors on the streets. Get all the stats and all the facts with his football form report. Stay on the ball on Friday night with Sky Bet and TalkSport.
Get unmissable analysis and expert soccer speculation on all the weekend's big games. Stay on the ball on Kickoff, the Players Lounge, on TalkSport with Sky Bet. We're making betting better. Visit skybet.com today. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Park your preconceptions of the electric car. Explore the cars that are redefining the future of driving. From the innovative BMW i3 to the pioneering BMW i8 sports car. To test drive the range, visit the BMW Become Electric event between the 25th and 28th of February. Find your nearest BMW i agent at bmw.co.uk/becomeelectric. Test drive subject to status and availability.
What do you think?
Oh, that's lovely on you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it really suits you, Dad.
It's not too much?
No, it's lovely. It's really you.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's a fixed rate tariff too.
And better than the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's dead nice.
You shop around for clothes, so why not for energy deals? Switching energy suppliers could save you up to £200. And with our independent guide and links to Ofgem approved comparison sites, it's never been easier. Visit goenergyshopping.co.uk.
Young tradespeople of the UK, Juicin want you.
Juicin are looking for the Juicin Young Tradesperson of the Year, and it could be you. If you're under 30...
And a brilliant brickie.
A perfect plasterer or a cracking carpenter, make sure you visit juicintools.co.uk/Young Tradesperson of the Year. Before the end of February, you could win a grand's worth of tools and a top trip to see Barcelona at the Nou Camp alone. Juicin Young Tradesperson of the Year, proudly sponsored by Osma. Terms and conditions apply.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, it is, of course, time for a Porkyvision. I'm not sure what shows is going to be looked at by Mr. Parry, but it will inevitably be a fascinating scenario.
Indeed.
Now, just a couple of things to mention. If you weren't listening earlier, we will be doing a show on May the 7th at the Tram Shed in Cardiff. Tickets will be available in the morning because the ticket line hasn't yet opened. So if you're looking for the tickets, you can go onto the Tram Shed website, which is tramshedcardiff.com, but you won't find a ticket line there until sometime later on this morning. And we should also mention, as we did last night, that we've now got our live DVD available for a download, which you can get by checking out our. In fact, I'll put out another tweet on it from the two mics right now. But also, you can go to our website, the2mics.co.uk, and find a link to it from there as well. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, including, of course, the fact that that you've discovered that there's some kind of new fangled way of conducting yourself, have you not, in terms of...
what do you mean?
Well, when you were telling me earlier that, in terms of, like, using public transport, in terms of using your car properly, in terms of, not using it properly and all that kind of thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought you were going to tell me all about how you've discovered some new method of using public transport, which is actually going to save everybody time.
A new method of using public transport?
Yeah, I thought you were.
I'm not a huge advocate of public transport
Not
myself.
a huge advocate
No,
of it?
I don't know why you got into this. Hey?
Well, aren't you going to be using public transport to get to Cardiff, for example?
Cardiff?
Yeah,
I'll be using the train,
well, that's
probably.
public transport, isn't it?
No, that's private transport,
Really?
isn't it? Public transport is that's
The
subsidised by...
Well, how's the train private transport?
Well, because private rail companies run them.
No, but it's public transport in the sense that you travel with the public.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, OK. I thought public transport was like subsidised buses, just crammed full of local people and all that kind of stuff.
I just saw a thing yesterday which I tweeted out on the new Elizabeth line and how it's going to make it a lot easier to get around London.
The Elizabeth line is the north-south line on the Crossrail in London, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's the whole sort of thing, really.
I mean, God knows what the country is spending on that. What a useless waste of money that is.
I don't think it is.
Why don't we build some more roads and then we can have people in their private cars?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Quite a few people reacting to your walking football scenario.
Yes.
VHP in Australia has sent in a YouTube clip, actually. He says it looks like a lot of fun and you two should have a go. So maybe we should at some point. He also says there's only one name for your wine, bladderation and Rogerisation.
Yeah.
Another could be Graham and Plank or the two mics.
Graham and Plank.
Lots and lots of ideas coming in.
Yes, I like all that. I like all that. Thank you very much indeed.
Ethan says, I've got to cut the listen short tonight, boys. I'm on my way to a dinner date.
Oh, yeah.
Wish me luck.
And where is this from?
He doesn't say where he's from.
I mean, he's obviously not going to a dinner date now. More likely going to a breakfast date.
He's in Utah, so he will be on his way to a dinner date.
Utah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that's
You've been there?
I have been to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I have as well.
Yeah, I went out there. There was a story about some guy who was placing pipe bombs all over the place, trying to attack sort of Mormon tabernacles and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I found it to be, and I've been in trouble for saying this before, but I found it to be a very colourless kind of place.
Yeah, so did I.
And I made the mistake. I did a very stupid thing. I made the mistake going to a fish restaurant, which, when you think about it, in the middle of the desert, is probably not the greatest of ideas.
Well, the fish was probably frozen. Had come from 1,000 miles away, or something like that.
I mean, and so the fish wasn't particularly good, and also they didn't have a wine list. You had to bring your own wine.
Well, funny you should say that, because my memory of Salt Lake City is that we went into a restaurant, we sat down, started ordering the food, and then asked for the wine list. The guy said, "We don't serve wine here," and I thought, I've come to a dry state.
And it was really, when I rang them and they said that, I said, well, that's not a problem, I'll just pick up a bottle of wine. And I think I spent about an hour and a half looking for a place to buy a bottle of wine.
Funny enough, there was a liquor shop just round the corner.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, is this a dry state or not? They said, yeah, but there's special exemptions. And for 4 hours a day you can buy liquor. And we just went to the shop and bought 4 bottles of wine and brought them back, and it was not a problem. But it's a very odd way to go around dining out, isn't it? When you've got to separate the ordering the food and the wine from two completely different sources.
When you have to think about that.
Yeah, ridiculous. Thing, yeah. But I thought it was a colourless sort of place. I never saw the Mighty Chapel. Did you? Or
the Tabernacle. The Tabernacle. I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I must have done then. Yeah, I did. I think. Yeah.
Well, it very much dominates the sort of skyline.
It's on
quite
an
impressive looking
building.
It's on a hill. No, well, it's sort of in the middle of town, really.
Yeah, that's right, it is. Yeah, I did see it.
Did you?
The Tabernacle.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, definitely.
And there's, of course, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, which you can buy many CDs of music from if you wish.
Sure, of course, yeah. Did the Osmonds sing in that? That's a serious story.
I don't think
a serious question.
Yeah, no, I don't think they sang in the actual choir.
They're the world's most famous Mormons, aren't they?
But I'm sure they performed inside the
Listen,
Tabernacle.
talking about drinking everything, right?
Drinking everything?
No, drink and everything.
Oh, okay.
Now, you drink fluids out of containers, like glasses for wine.
Glasses, cups.
Well, cups, funny you should say that, because that's what I was going to talk to you about. I found a situation regarding an entrepreneur who's made a fortune out of producing mugs.
Right.
So you think to yourself, well, hang on, isn't one mug pretty much the same as the next?
We're supposed to be producing some mugs as well.
What do you mean?
Aren't we, for the two mics? Are we not supposed to be producing some mugs?
We've got them.
Have we?
I think we've got them, haven't we?
Have we?
I've not seen some.
Well, we're not selling any yet, though.
Well, we've got a shop.
Have we?
They're not in the shop.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You're supposed to be in charge of all this stuff. Get yourself together.
No, I have my finger on the pulse.
Because also, surely if we've taken delivery of some mugs, I should have one, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Should I get a free mug? Please?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. Now, I can't find my my documentary information on the mugs.
Oh, okay.
But I have got some. I read it in one of my journals.
So you've got a little bit early on this one, then?
No, not
You're
really.
Not properly prepared.
But anyway, look, I wanted to bring in... It just says that people now can take great pride in having their own mugs at home.
Yeah.
So that, for instance, when I'm drinking my tea or something like that, I have got a mug which is an Everton mug, okay?
Right.
And sometimes I'm drinking my coffee, I drink it out of my Chicago Tribune mug.
Tribune mug?
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
From the Chicago Tribune building.
Why would you buy a mug from there?
Well, because I went to Chicago once. I was working on a job or something, and I went and saw something at Chicago Tribune, and then I passed the shop on the way out.
Right.
And they do actually sell, what's it called? Like T-shirts and all that, for Chicago Tribune and all that. I thought, that's good.
But why would you want a mug from the Chicago Tribune? That seems bizarre.
Well, because I've always been a big fan of newspapers, haven't I? So I thought, that's
you got a Daily
good.
Express mug, then?
I haven't got one, but if they did have one, I would have bought one. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, look, I wanted to show you my favourite mug, because I have got a collection of mugs at home in my kitchen cabinet, and I opted for this one. What do you think of this?
What is that? Oh, my goodness me, that's old, isn't it? That is, I'm looking at what looks like the mug of that was issued when Charles and Diana got married.
Yes.
In what, was it 1981?
Yes, I did the royal wedding.
Yeah. What, they give you a mug as a souvenir?
No. I bought that from a street
they look
vendor.
young, don't they?
Yes, they do.
HRH, Prince Charles and Lady Diana.
Yes.
It actually looks like a bit of a bootleg one. It doesn't look like an official one.
Excuse me.
In celebration of the royal wedding.
Yes.
There's the Welsh dragon up there.
That's right. Well, that's because he's the Prince of Wales.
Yeah, but this does not look to me like an official mug.
No,
it also
ridiculous.
feels
Of course
quite
it's an
cheap.
official mug.
How much do you pay for that then?
Well, I don't know. I bought it in 1981 on Fleet Street, actually. It was a street vendor on Fleet Street.
Yeah, so it was probably provided by some ersatz character.
Yeah.
Made in England, it says underneath.
Well, there you go, you see. Wasn't made in China or anything.
Well, China is not a bad
So would you like
place
to give me my mug back, please? Do you want to take a picture of this?
Yeah, I will do, yeah. So you drink out of this, do you?
Of course I do.
Do you?
Yeah, well, sometimes on the royal birthday, I get my royal mug out.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you want to take a picture of it and share this with our...
Take it easy. I'll take a picture of you when I've got a second, and then I'll put it out
I think we should share this with our audience. Now, so going back to 1981, I'll tell you why we're going back to 1981 for a minute.
Why?
What about this? Have you got a load of cassettes still at home?
I haven't got any cassettes at all.
You haven't got any?
No.
Well, you must have had some in
I
the
did
past.
have, yeah, but I don't have them anymore.
Didn't you have a Sony Walkman?
I did have a Sony Walkman.
I did. I had a Sony Walkman. I love my Sony Walkman.
In fact, my earliest remembrance of a Sony Walkman was when I went to New York back in the sort of early 80s, before I went to work there permanently.
Yes.
I got sent there on a job for this magazine I was working for, and my sister was working there.
Right.
And I insisted on borrowing her Sony Walkman so that I could walk around the streets of New York listening to it.
Looking cool.
Because I thought it was the coolest thing of all time.
Yeah.
And I remember walking down from Columbus Circle down Broadway.
Yeah, I know.
Listening to, and unfortunately, I don't know what various kind of bits of music she had, but it was Diana Ross.
Yes.
I'm Coming Out.
Yeah.
Which was a bit unfortunate, really, but a great song.
Coming Out.
And I was walking down Broadway, and the sun was shining, and I thought, this is it.
Yeah,
I was about 22
sun
years
is up,
age.
the sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you, Diana Ross. Yeah. Anyway,
that's Dear Prudence.
Yeah, it is Dear Prudence. Yeah. What I was going to say to you was, believe it or not, they're coming back for some unknown reason. There's been a resurgence in demand for the cassette tape.
I'm struggling with this one because the return of vinyl, for example, is more understandable because for years DJs have been using vinyl to sort of make different noises.
That's
and,
right.
Play double turntable stuff, and now you can buy quite a few. Like I've got this turntable now that I can play my records on. But I mean, I haven't seen a cassette player on sale anywhere for many a year, and unless you've got a really ancient car.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the last car I had that had a cassette player in it would probably have been a company car I had when I was at the Express.
Oh, mine would have been
way back in the sort of late 90s.
Yeah, mine would have been as well.
Yeah.
But listen to this. Sales of music tapes are rising so quickly in the United States that the Recording Industry Association of America, trade body for music labels, is investigating ways to track sales for the first time since the early 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
Nostalgia for the retro format comes despite the frustrations that led their decline, including the tendency to become tangled and jammed in players.
Yeah.
The thing that used to most get me is I had a Sony Walkman as well, and I used to use it a lot on transatlantic flights.
Yes.
And it was, the height of coolness. You didn't have to put your earphones on from the chair next to you.
You could have your own
actually had your own,
yeah.
But the most frustrating bit of it was you never knew how to get completely to the next track. You always had to guess.
Well, you just had to keep going.
Click.
And then too far, go back a bit.
But then sometimes, if you had a really sophisticated one like me, the thing would just turn itself over, if you see what I mean. Start playing tracks on the other side of the tape.
Yeah, right.
And I found them very confusing. But anyway, you'd be delighted.
I presume because you've asked me the question, you've still got a load of cassettes then.
I have. I've got about 100.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
And are they like ones that you bought sort of pre-recorded, or are they mixes that you've made?
No, they're all pre-recorded. They're things like, all the greatest hits ones I've got now in CD.
Yeah.
I've also got in cassette.
Right.
And the reason I kept them...
Did you ever buy an album that wasn't a greatest hits album?
Of course I did, yeah. All the Beatles albums, all Paul McCartney's albums. Yeah, I've got a Paul McCartney, a couple of Paul McCartney albums on cassettes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, once the CD had arrived and you put that in a mobile portable thing, it wasn't called a Sony Walkman anymore, called Sony something else.
Yeah.
You could choose the track.
Yeah.
Just go blink, 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 any track you wanted.
Oh,
so
really?
I've no idea why people... However, I have got a machine at home in which I can convert a video to a DVD and a cassette to a CD.
Hey?
How about that?
What, you mean all in one unit?
All in one unit.
What does that look like?
It's underneath my telly. Looks like
That must be horrendous.
It's not. It's not
that should be
big.
in the Victorian Albert Museum.
No, it's not that big, and it's quite a modern one. It's quite a modern machine.
No way. Anything that's got a cassette player in it cannot be modern.
Guess what else is coming back? The fax machine.
The fax machine?
Yeah, the audacious cyber-attack on the Sony Pictures film studio caused huge embarrassment and millions of dollars of damage. And Michael Linton, the boss of Sony Pictures, admitted it could be coming back.
Why?
I don't know. But I've got, believe it or not, a dedicated phone line into Porky, the Porky penthouse, which serves only a fax machine.
Do you ever get any faxes on it?
No, and I haven't used it for 2 years. Seriously, I use it now as an outgoing telephone line.
I think the only people that still accept faxes are sort of banks and things, aren't they?
I don't know if they do they?
I think so,
How do you send a fax? You haven't got a fax machine.
Well, I mean, you can now send faxes from your computer without actually needing a fax machine. You can receive them that way as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's run out of ink.
Oh, really?
Because the ink's just dried up.
Why'd you just leave it there, then?
Well, it's an extra phone now.
Sounds like something else to put in the Porky Museum. So you've got the fax machine,
yes,
and, of course, the ridiculously horrendous-sounding contraption you've got that can convert CDs into cassettes.
That's a very modern machine, believe me.
Well, when did you buy it? It's not modern at all.
I bought it 18 months ago.
Rubbish.
I didn't buy it 20 years ago, I bought 18 months ago.
Well, in that case, I want to see a picture of it. You're going to take a picture of it tonight when you get home.
Okay.
And bring it in tomorrow. This is Talk Sport. I'm going to send out a picture of Porky with his mug.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
Reminds me of
what?
Trading Places.
Yes, that's right, it does. Was that in Trading Places, or was it similar?
Yeah, no, that's what they play at the beginning of the movie.
Right, okay, yeah, that's fine. Now, do you know what that is?
It's Marriage of Figaro, isn't it?
How do you know that?
Well, because
I told you.
Well, no,
I told
it's one
you.
of those very. It's one of those pieces, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Yeah.
If you play it, everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, I think I probably told you. Anyway, listen, the reason I'm playing that is from one of my journals, right, and it was the History of Music journal that I was actually reading at the time.
The History of Music journal.
Yes, History of Classical Music.
Is that
journal.
one of those things you can buy from like the back of the paper? You know, when they go, if you'd like to have, the most sort of comprehensive guide to whatever it is that you want to have the comprehensive guide to.
Yes.
Alongside things like garden shears and those trousers you can buy and funny shoes.
Yes.
You buy the History of Music parts 1 to 12.
No, I just keep in touch with all the educational publishing houses in this country.
It's because your knowledge of music is so wide-ranging.
Many of them who are registered at the Bodleian Library, the world's most famous library at Oxford University, where Brasenose College is, where I went for an interview, okay? I keep in touch with these...
How did that go?
These fine... never mind that. I keep in touch with these fine academic establishments, and I have learnt from new research that Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart could have been murdered by a dastardly individual called Antonio Salieri.
Oh, yeah. Who was he?
Now, well, this is interesting. Salieri... let me see who he was. He was... he wasn't... He was a bad guy. And remember, these two were in Vienna in the 1780s, but they both fell in love with a beautiful opera singer called Starassi.
Starassi?
Yeah, I think it's
was one name. It was a bit like Madonna.
Yeah.
Only one name.
No, her
Starassi.
name... No, her name was... Hang on. Do you work again?
Are you sure you've highlighted the right bits here?
No. I haven't highlighted anything. This is my research from this afternoon.
Well, you've got to highlight it.
Right, here we go. The Marriage of Figaro was inspired by a beautiful lady called Nancy Starassi. So her name was Nancy, actually, not Starassi.
Nancy?
Yeah, Nancy.
An unusual name, isn't it?
She was
a European woman of that time.
Yes, that's right. But listen, she was an accomplished young English singer who dazzled audiences in 18th century Vienna and enthralled both composers as well as their patron, Emperor Joseph II of... where's Vienna?
Austria,
that's right, yeah. Okay.
By the way, apparently Vienna's been voted the most pleasant place to live.
Well, I like Vienna. I think it's a beautiful city. Anyway, point of the story is she was the mistress to Emperor Joseph II.
Yeah.
But, of course, Amadeus Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, was the court composer. But... a guy who vied for both the job and the lady involved, the wench of the court, so to speak, was this other guy. Antonio Salieri.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Now then, let me tell you what this guy got up to. They were rival composers in 1780. In 1785, who's this? Oh, yeah, Signor... What's that?
Well,
what are you laughing at?
Because it's very hard to follow this story.
No, hang on. One of them wrote a piece called Signor Cornetti.
Oh, yeah.
Not one cornetto, which I know you're going to make a joke of.
I'm not going to make a joke about that.
And what happened was they wanted Nancy Sterassi to sing it.
Oh, yeah.
Now then, now Sterassi... Oh, no, that's Nancy, sorry. Nancy was a mesmerising performer.
Really?
It says in the journal here. Yeah. Even more important...
I'm reading here that she lost her voice in a catastrophic performance.
She did. Even more, she was the mistress of the Austrian Emperor Joseph II.
Blimey.
The cantata, which had been composed for her, was always known as, for some unknown reason, K477A.
What?
I don't know why it was.
I've never known it as that.
It was always
cantata.
It was always known as K477A.
It sounds like one of those stars that they named.
Yeah, it does actually. In Cocciol's catalogue of Mozart's music. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, what little has been heard and seen so far suggests she's skillfully. I don't know what this is all about, actually. Let's go back to what you said.
What are you talking about?
Nancy Sterassi was only 19. But an established star in Vienna when, and you've just preempted this, she fell ill on stage.
Yeah.
Something went wrong with her vocal cords, and she spent the next 4 months recovering. Some observers said her voice was never the same again.
Yeah.
Having been born in London, she was a child prodigy, yeah, who went on to become the inspiration on the first incarnation of Mozart's character Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro, which we've just played.
Indeed.
So you see the circle is completed there.
The circle is indeed
right,
completed.
Yeah.
She was also married at one point, apparently.
Apparently she was.
But that didn't go well.
One critic, writing in 1783, was also captivated by her. He said, her beautiful eyes, her white neck, her beautiful throat, her fresh mouth...
I thought this was about Mozart being poisoned.
No, well, it is.
Well, why haven't you mentioned that?
Because this is just to prove how beautiful she was,
right.
And this is what they fought over, OK?
So who poisoned her then? Haydn?
No, she didn't get poisoned. This dreadful, villainous Antonio Salieri...
Yeah, but where does he come into it then?
Well, he poisoned Mozart.
Well, yeah, but...
For the love of Nancy Sterassi.
But you didn't mention him in the past, though.
What?
What's he got to do with Nancy?
Well, I just kept explaining to you. You should have been listening, you idiot.
I am listening.
Mozart fancied Nancy Sterassi and wrote The Marriage of Figaro to highlight her beautiful singing voice and her beauty.
Where does the other guy come in?
Well, he wanted Nancy for himself.
Right.
So he claimed to have written the piece I just told you about, Signor Cornetti.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted her to sing it, but her voice had gone, so she couldn't.
Uh-huh.
So that meant that then he had to try and seek her affections through other means. He couldn't write stuff for her anymore, OK?
Did he end up with her then after he poisoned Mozart? Is that what you're saying?
What?
Did he end up with her after he poisoned Mozart?
Well, this is not clear.
Right.
This is what I'm getting to. Now, the problem was that she had an affair with Mozart while she was still the mistress of the emperor.
Yeah.
Nancy Sterassi was an extremely popular singer who performed works by both Mozart and then under duress by Salieri, the villainous guy, Antonio.
Oh, so he's a composer as well?
He was. I explained that to you. You should have been listening.
No, you didn't.
I said they were rival composers.
Yeah, right. Well, not really. I mean, I've never heard of this guy, but I have heard of Mozart.
And then...
So he clearly wasn't as good as Mozart, was he?
And then Kristina Vapilova from the Czech National Museum, which hosted the first... Oh, I see. No, she's not from the 7th...
This is a shambles.
She's not from the 18th century.
It's a complete shambles.
She lives now.
This is worse than...
She found a manuscript.
This is worse than your supposed explanation of private schools and their influence on public life.
No. Anyway, what happened was, in the end, the legend of the evil Salieri destroying his more talented junior peer, because Salieri was older than him, was first dramatised in Mozart and Salieri by Alexander Pushkin. You know who he is, don't you?
Yeah, I've heard of him,
Yeah, the Russian poet in 1830.
Yeah.
But a Hollywood movie was made of it in 1984. Now new evidence has come to light. We all know the picture drawn up of Mozart. hang on, by the movie Amadeus is false. Salieri did not poison Mozart,
right?
But they both worked in Vienna and competitors.
Oh, well, I'm glad we've cleared that up then.
Yeah.
So he didn't poison him?
He didn't poison him in the end, no. I thought he had, actually. But,
okay.
But apparently...
Western James has tweeted, along with many others.
Oh, yes?
What on earth is Porky talking about right now?
What?
I'm dazed and confused.
Why?
Danny says, if Mike Parry's ever struggling to sleep, he should play this story back on his cassette player.
That'd be ridiculous. It's a fascinating story. We all love Wolfgang Amadeus, don't we?
Well, yes, but he wasn't poisoned, after all.
Didn't
so the names of all these people who have up to now remained pretty well unknown.
Yes, that's true.
Have got no relevance really to anything.
You know, in The Clockwork Orange, didn't the bloke who led that lot? He was a devotee of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
He did like a
wasn't
bit
he?
of classical music. Yeah,
I knew it. You see, I knew it.
Paul says this: my band's album.
Many angles on this.
Yeah, my band's album is now available on cassette. Our record labels specialise in vinyl, but now do cassettes as well. A lot of small labels do it.
Okay,
so there you go.
Yeah,
right. Coming up, it's time for Porkyvision, which I'm sure won't be anywhere near as ridiculously kind of unhinged as that last segment.
I think not.
This is Talk Sport, and of course it is that time of the week when we have a look at all the big shows on television, some of the smaller shows, and some of the things that aren't even on television anymore. I'm slightly concerned that you may have sort of blown the gaff with that last explanation of the Mozart story. But
Why? What do you mean?
Well, I'm hoping that your insensible ramblings will now continue into Porkyvision, because normally that's what it's known for.
No.
I mean, Neil says the Amadeus story hasn't finished yet.
Yes, of course it's finished. Yeah, it's complete.
Maxwell says that's 15 minutes of my life I'm never getting back.
Yeah, well, at least it's full of knowledge. At least it's full of knowledge.
Sean says, what's he going on about?
No, it's... well, look, you've all heard of Mozart, right? All you people complaining.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd fill you in a bit more colour of the life of probably the second or third greatest composer in history.
Yeah, excellent. Now,
what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with it at all. I've got loads of tweets to read out, but I'll get to them later, because now what we need to know about is what you've been watching on television.
Now, I watched a programme called Buckingham Palace is Falling Down.
Really?
No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was called Inside Buckingham Palace, I'm sorry. Inside Buckingham Palace. It was
How can you mistake one for the other?
Well, because what happened was, when I saw Buckingham Palace is Falling Down, I thought...
Was that a different show?
No, I thought that was the name of the show. But what it was actually a review of the show I'd watched, which said that there's so much masonry crumbling into the servants' quarters.
See. Right.
See what I mean? From inside...
hey, did you see that story the other day about the Central Line? That had to be closed down because some planks...
Vibrations?
No, some planks who were working in the Westfield Shopping Centre, which is over by Shepherd's Bush, started drilling through to build something extra onto it, and turned out to be drilling into the top of the tunnel of the Central Line. And all this masonry fell on the Central Line.
Sorry, what's that got to do with my TV review?
Well, because it's falling masonry.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Just reminded me.
Please don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
When I'm trying to educate the audience, right?
So Buckingham Palace.
Right, inside Buckingham Palace. That was a Channel 5 programme.
Yeah.
Close-ups of cracked paint, distressed stone, the image of a stately home in disrepair, okay?
Okay.
Now
was
then...
the Queen in it?
No, the Queen wasn't in it, no.
Well, why did she allow them to come in and film all that, then?
I don't know. It's usually... I think that Tony Robinson guy was in it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Time Team.
That's him.
Baldrick.
Yeah. Except that the biggest shock to me was when I saw the credits come up at the end. Tony Robinson is now Sir Tony Robinson.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
I mean, how did that happen?
Well, because he got it for services to broadcasting.
Weedy little toothless guy, Baldrick, which is what he was famous
that's his
for.
Character.
Yeah, but that's what he's always famous for. How did he become a Knight of the Realm?
He must have had a plan.
That's a damned disgrace. Now, there is a great programme on at the moment. It's a series.
Right. Is this like a quiz you're giving me?
No. I think it's called The Night Manager.
Yes, I've heard people talking about that.
Is it The Night Manager?
I think so, yeah.
Sandy told me about it yesterday, Sandy, our newsreader, right. And it's brilliant.
Is it? What's it about?
Well, I don't know, because I haven't seen it.
Well, how do you know it's brilliant?
Well, I read some reviews once Sandy told me about it, and I thought this is worth watching. So that will be coming up. I will be watching that, okay?
I'll have to check that out.
I will be watching that.
Is it about a night manager?
It's about a guy who's a night manager. Yeah. And apparently he is something
a football
like...
manager.
No, you idiot. No, he runs some kind of hotel or something. But what's the problem?
This is it. It's got it's something to do with spying, I think.
No, this is now about to tell you. This guy...
he doesn't run a hotel.
No. This guy passes himself off as a servant. He works in... He's either a cocktail waiter or something, or he could be... No, I think I've got this. I think he is actually a waiter in a diplomatic embassy or something like that.
Okay.
And people are very rude to him because they regard him as a mere sort of underling and that kind of stuff. But what they don't know is that actually he's a super spy, and actually he's spying on everything they say in all their meetings and all that, and taking it to the other side. I'm not sure which side he works for, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'll find all that out.
I look forward to you deciphering the code.
Yeah. No, I'll sort all that out. Don't worry, because that sounds like a really great programme.
It does.
And I take it as my responsibility as the TV reviewer for TalkSport to make sure I investigate that, OK?
Yeah, OK.
And that will be investigated. Now, what I really want to talk to you about is... I was just looking up here in my notes.
What about Happy Valley? I thought you were going to talk
Happy
about
Valley,
that.
I'll come to in a second, but wait a minute. Happy Valley's not the only programme on TV, not the only programme. And in my notes here, I am referring to... I quite like the Money programme, actually, but...
The Money programme? Is that still on?
Well,
it's been going for years, isn't it?
No, I'm sure...
I'm not sure the Money programme is still on anymore.
No, there's a version of it on, but it might not be the actually Money programme. No, here we are. Right, here we go. What do I want to tell you about?
You're running out of time, by the way.
No. Here we go.
Here we go what?
The Great Sport Relief Bake-Off, yeah?
Yeah. What about it?
Adrian Edmonton's in it.
Edmonton?
In fact, I think he's been made the star baker or something. Look, I'll tell you what...
Adrian Edmondson.
Is it Adrian Edmondson? Edmondson, sorry.
Edmondson?
Yeah. Edmonton is, in fact, the district in which Tottenham Hotspur's football ground is based, isn't it?
It is.
Right, the other thing I will tell you about in a minute, let me see...
What have you actually watched?
Well, now...
Have you seen anything?
Happy Valley, brilliant.
Happy Valley,
right. Brilliant.
Let's talk about Happy Valley then.
What happens is...
Because the last time we spoke about Happy Valley, there was a bit of a sort of a cliffhanger of an ending, was there not?
The guy...
Where the guy who's... he may or may not have killed his mistress.
Well, you see, this is so brilliant. The guy who played the butler to the Dowager in Downton is the cop who has decided to sort out his mistress.
Yes.
And he does that by pretending to leave his wife because, she's been put the pressure on. He goes round, she dresses up beautifully, serves a meal, and then nastiest thing in the world, he strangles her to death.
Right.
But
does he, though?
Yeah, he does, because the new episode has started, which I saw, which I've seen. I've actually seen this.
Good.
And
it's always a start.
And he strangled her, and then do you know what he's done?
So she's dead. So how do you get rid of the body?
Well, you see, this is interesting. He then mutilates her with a broken bottle because he's a cop working on a case of a serial killer who's doing that to women in that part of the world.
I see.
So he thinks, to cover my tracks, I will mutilate her horribly, and then he goes and dumps a body in an old mill, an old disused mill.
Right.
Now then, how about this for sheer brilliance? He then volunteers to be the officer who has to sit in on the post-mortem. Apparently in police work, when a post-mortem takes place, there's a police officer there, and he receives all the, as they strip the body, the clothes, the shoes and all that, the police officer takes it.
He takes all that.
So the brilliance of this is that if any DNA of his is ever found near her, it's because he was the receiving officer.
But surely they have a method of doing that in order not to pass DNA from the police officer to
You
the
actually
clothes.
saw in the mortuary the pathologist... cutting bits of her clothes off, taking shoes off and handing them to the officer. That's why they do it, OK?
Right.
Well, no, there won't be many occasions when the cop
surely he's wearing gloves and stuff, isn't
he? He wasn't, no.
Well, he should have been. I mean, that presumably would be...
Well, but I'm saying is, there must be very few instances in the history of criminology when the cop who is the one officiating at a at a post-mortem examination was actually the killer. That's probably never even happened before.
Yeah, but in order to make sure that it would not be so easy to disguise something that you had done, you would think that they would actually make sure...
But anyway...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
Well, I am supposed to be doing the review, not you.
I know you're supposed to be, but you're not telling us anything.
But this is what's so brilliant about it. Right. Anyway, he the night he murdered his mistress and then disposed of the body, he went home, right? But in a flashback, it's revealed that when he got home, because he told his wife he was out on 2-night surveillance.
Certainly was,
because he thought it was going to take him 2 days to get rid of his mistress, but he did it all in one night.
Right.
He gets home to find his wife being Rogerised by the neighbour.
What?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yes. And
must have come as a bit of a shock to him.
And I tell you what is really shocking to the system,
right.
the wife, who is getting Rogerised in quite a physically active way,
really?
In his own bed.
So he kind of sees that without her knowing, is that what you mean?
No, he walks in on them.
Right.
Walks in on them.
Well, they didn't realise he was coming in the room.
No, because he's supposed to be on 2 nights surveillance.
No, I get that,
right?
but you wouldn't hear the guy coming in the front door.
Well, I think they were in the heights of passion or
I
something,
see.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think he actually, because it was like 3 in the morning, I think he crept in so as not to wake the family or something like that. But the biggest thing is that bang, smacks you in the face and gives you a sense of shock and delirium, is that the wife who is receiving the Rogerisation ritual from the neighbour.
The Rogerisee.
Yeah, the Rogerisee, thank you, that's a good word, is in real life, is Hayley from Coronation Street.
Really?
Julie Hesmandalala, you know, or whatever her name is. Julie
Hezbollah.
No, not Hezbollah, no. It's something, it's got a strange surname. Hesmandalagar.
Okay.
Julie Hesmandalagar.
Well, you must have known it was her, didn't you? It was just the first time you've seen her.
Well, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember from the last episode.
Right.
And so he realises now, actually, it wouldn't have minded if because the mistress who he's murdered, he murdered her because she threatened to expose their affair to his wife.
So his wife's obviously moved on in some way.
Well, his wife wouldn't have minded. Yeah. I mean, you know, the fancy going around murdering somebody you didn't need to murder.
Well,
it's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it?
Yeah, but surely he wanted to also do away with her because she was threatening him anyway, though. And she had done some pretty horrible things to him.
Well,
so
who
you
knows?
wouldn't want to get back with somebody like that.
Well, if I told you last week, she's the one who drugged him, dressed him up in women's underwear, and then had him posing with pornographic pictures. Pornographic magazines, which she took pictures of, right?
Yeah.
But also in this twisted plot, and it is a really twisted plot, you know. What do I need to tell you? Oh yeah, I know. The main character is Sarah Lancashire.
Yeah.
Not Lancaster.
Yeah.
Which I may have called her last week. Her name is Sarah Lancashire.
Right.
And
Lancashire.
Lancashire. She's got all sorts of problems in life because her daughter...
She's not the only one.
What?
She's not the only...
Her daughter was raped and murdered by Tommy, the guy who's now in jail and all that. You know, the guy who was the...
Very sordid, this show.
The guy who's the beefcake in War and Peace, right?
It's very sordid.
And is a vicar in Grantchester, but he's a really horrible man in this one. But
why is it always the same people in all these shows?
I don't know. There must be a shortage of actors and actresses, I think. But also, her sister is a chronic alcoholic.
Yeah.
And she takes her to a funeral and to the wake afterwards, but then he leaves her and she gets back on the sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid, disaster.
Right.
By the way, I tell you what I did see in it. She, because she's a police officer, when she took her bladderated sister home, she got her on her bed and then put her in the recovery position. I've never seen the recovery position before. Now I know how to help somebody.
Really?
If I go out drinking with them and they vomit on their own vomit, if you see what I mean, I know how to put them in the recovery position.
All right, that's very good of you.
Because I learnt it in Happy Valley. You turn them on the side, bring the leg up, you know, bend their leg, and then put their arm across their chest, and then face them downwards.
Okay.
And then they recover.
Well, you learn something every day.
Yeah.
Ian says this. Does Porky actually own a TV?
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
I think that's about sums
I own
up Porkyvision.
4 TV. No, I own 5 TVs.
5 TVs?
Five, yeah.
Does that mean you have to have 5 licences?
No. No, I have 2 licences.
Well, you've got 3 Sky subscriptions, though.
I've got 3 Sky subscriptions.
Why haven't you got 5?
Because I don't buy the licence for the guy whose TV I fund at one of my properties. That's why. What's the problem?
That's about as clear as mud. That was Porkyvision.
Thank you.
There'll be another one same time next week.
Yeah.
Still haven't signed up to TalkSport's £1 Million football game? Why not? There's a million good reasons why you should. Download the Selco Predictor app now on your smartphone.
With more prizes, more often, and more chances to win.
£1 million.
And as if that wasn't enough, play Beat the Presenter to win a spectacular additional predictor prize.
No! Download the Selco Predictor app now on your smartphone.
£1 million.
The Selco Predictor. Sign up now at talksport.com/predictor.
Employers across the UK, however small the business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. Visit workplacepensions.gov.uk.
Is frequent heartburn keeping you up at night? There is a way you could protect yourself. Nexium Control for 24-hour protection from frequent heartburn by controlling acid at the source. Try Nexium Control. Look for the purple pack. Just 1 pill a day could give you 24-hour protection and 0 heartburn. No wonder consumers voted it Product of the Year. Gastro-resistant tablets, contains esomeprazole, always read the leaflet. General healthcare winner by a survey of over 11,000 people.
Everyone knows that all the best things come in threes. 3 Amigos, 3 Stooges, 3 Lions. And right now, if you sign up to 888 Sport, you'll get treble odds on your first bet. Play with 888 Sport and harness the power of 3 with treble odds on your first bet. New customers only. Minimum £5 bet to qualify. Maximum £10 bet at treble odds. Bet at normal odds. Extra winnings added as a free bet within 72 hours. Free bets must be used within 7 days and are not included in any returns. See site for full terms and conditions. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Bienvenue au Weekend Sports Breakfast avec Michelle Quinn and Georgie Bingham.
Hey! Oh, really, Mickey?
Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on Talk Sport with Benno Vans. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a souffle of sport and a pan au chocolat of pre-match build-up.
There's no need to milk it, Mickey.
The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football. The Weekend Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with Benno Vans. To celebrate 18 years as Europe's #1 van manufacturer, right now it's Van Month. Ooh la la.
Come on, wear the shirt. It's easy. Talk Sport.
My baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't.
What are we playing this for?
Now, that's Nina Simone, right?
Is it? Yes.
Now, I've just been sent a book. It's called What Happened, Miss Simone. And I'm afraid it details the chaotic and rather sad and dishevelled life of Nina Simone.
Oh, really?
Do you remember Nina Simone as a kid?
No. I never knew her as a kid.
No, well, you must have heard her music as a kid.
Well, no. I thought you meant, did I know her as a kid?
No, you idiot. Of course you didn't know her. But, I mean...
Well, where did she grow up?
Were you aware of Nina Simone's music? You're trying to be thick now, right?
You said, did I know her as a kid?
Well, did you know of her music? If I said to you, did you know the Beatles?
Do you mean when I was a kid?
Yeah.
I thought you meant when she was a kid.
No, you idiot. If I said to you, did you know the Beatles?
You're not being very clear.
If I said to you, did you know the Beatles as a kid? You'd say, yeah, of course I do. I have their LPs. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I've known about the Beatles all my life.
No, then.
I would say the first time I heard Nina Simone's name, I would say I was probably a bit older, actually, because it's not the sort of thing that you hear when you're a child.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say that the first time I heard of her was probably when I was in my maybe late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
Because her music would have been, drawn to my attention.
She was one of apparently the biggest post-war American, jazz musicians or something, or stars or whatever.
Well, as a singer, yeah, she was, yeah.
Is that right?
Very famous.
Anyway, unfortunately...
She was her, Ella Fitzgerald, all those kind of people.
Yes, that's right. She had a bit of a chaotic life. She used to regularly threaten strangers with guns or knives.
Really?
Strangers.
Really?
Yeah. She had disastrous tastes in men. She used to either go out or marry men who used to beat her up on a regular basis.
Uh-huh.
Her violent outbursts, her drinking and drug-taking, her reckless spending, and a fraught relationship with her daughter, Lisa, who now has a singing career of her own, made her vulnerable to all sorts of problems, scandals, and upsets in her life.
Well, I mean, quite often some of these singers have tragic lives. I mean, remember Billie Holiday? Billie Holiday had a pretty tragic life.
Yeah, she became like a drunk, didn't she?
Well, she was, she was drug addict, she was a drunk, but she came from a very, difficult background. And she had terrible ties with men as well. I mean, I think it goes with the territory.
Anyway,
or it did in those days, anyway.
I think you're right. Nina Simone eventually went to Liberia and lived there.
Did she?
Yeah, because she said that
not far from old Ponzo the chimp.
Well, that's actually true, because she reckons that was, where the origins of her family, who were slaves, had come from.
Right.
So she wanted to go and find out all about her roots, which is, a very commendable thing.
Indeed.
But then the problem is she had a bizarre love affair with a local dignitary. It ended in humiliation and recrimination.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. She thought she was going to marry the Prime Minister of Barbados, Errol Barrow.
What was he doing in Liberia?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Right.
But that all went wrong.
Yeah.
And they then went to Switzerland, France and the Netherlands to try and find somebody to get married, apparently.
Yeah.
But that never happened. So she flitted around the globe, pursued by her demons. making life miserable for promoters who never knew she was going to turn up for a show.
Yeah.
We work with people like that, don't we?
yeah, we do. But you sort of need, I think, people in showbiz like that. I mean, the Brits were on last night, and Adele won a load of awards.
Yeah, she did. Wasn't it brilliant?
Got into trouble for swearing. But, I mean, there's not much of that kind of madness around too many, stars these days. And I think you need a bit of that, don't you?
I suppose you do, actually, yeah. Anyway, by the late 50s, drink and drugs had become part of her daily life.
Yeah.
She was trying LSD as early as the late 1950s, when she was only a teenager.
Yeah.
She acquired a severe cocaine habit at the same time.
Right.
And she already had signs of mental instability. It didn't go well for her, I'm afraid.
No, I'm afraid not. What a great singer. And what a great sort of legacy she left behind.
Well, I think you're right. She married a guy who was so violent to her that he put her in hospital on a regular basis.
Dear me.
But she said he was the love of her life.
Yeah, well.
Here we go.
Victims of domestic violence often say that.
Yeah. Soon after they became engaged, the drunken man Stroud attacked...
Stroud?
Yeah, that was his name was Stroud. I don't know, weird old name, isn't it?
Not particularly, no. He's named after a place in Gloucester.
Oh, no, sorry, Andrew Stroud. He was.
Did you think that was his only name?
He's described as a macho.
Andrew Stroud.
Yeah, a macho former Harlem detective.
Oh, there you go.
So former cop.
Yeah.
These cops can be dodgy.
Yeah, they can. And can I read you a few tweets that I've got in?
What do you mean?
Well, I'll just read you a few tweets.
Well, I thought I'd tell you the story first.
I don't want to know the story.
All right,
I've heard too many of your stories.
Okay, yeah, all right.
The Amadeus story has numbed everybody's brain.
Right.
And Porkyvision has further done it.
Right.
Ian says, how about this? In real life, she's Hayley from Coronation Street.
Yeah.
That was your quote.
Oh, I see what you mean.
What
Yeah,
a
sorry,
plank.
no, I didn't mean that. I meant in a different existence.
Yeah. Pure Fuel says this.
Yes.
You advertise Porkyvision all week and then only give him 10 minutes. It's far too short.
Well, exactly. That's what I thought. So, I mean, by the time I got round to telling you what the real story's about, it's too late.
Exactly. David says, if you want to know the real story of Mozart and Salieri, watch this fabulous film. Then he's done a poster of Amadeus.
Amadeus, yeah. Well, I've seen that. Yeah, of course I've seen it. Yeah.
You've seen it? Well, I mean, that whole story that you told is in there, apparently.
No. Now, listen, you put out a picture of me and my mug.
I did indeed.
I've got a lot of appreciative, notes on it. Now, do you know where the mug came from? I told you, didn't I?
You said you bought it in Fleet Street.
Yeah, but hang on, I want to tell you about these mugs because I want to know whether you qualify for as being a good mug person or not, okay?
Well, I mean, one of the things that you might remember a few weeks before, or maybe just before Christmas, somebody sent us a couple of mugs in.
They did. They're very nice.
So I've got that one at home now.
Thank you very much. I've also got an Everton mug downstairs in the boot of my car, which somebody sent me.
Why is it the boot of your car?
Because that's where I put it for safekeeping just before we went away somewhere. Yeah, but I will, whoever sent that in, thank you very much indeed, and I will be referring to that next week.
Okay.
Now, the worst mug in this country, and this comes from an expert, and the expert is a lady called Emma Bridgewater.
I know she.
Emma Bridgewater's polka dot pottery fills the kitchens of the home counties and fans debate her crockery designs. Apparently, it's a huge talking point.
Right.
Yeah, she's a designer, but it's a huge talking point. Right. She's designed mugs for Boris Becker when he won Wimbledon, Live Aid, raised millions for charity. Diana, Princess of Wales.
Yeah.
That's the one that you've taken a picture of me with, right?
No, it's not, because the one I've taken a picture of you with is the royal wedding one. She's done one of Diana, presumably, maybe as in memoriam, perhaps, after she died.
It says made in England here, so it could be the official one. But anyway, look,
I don't think it is.
The point
Very
is,
cheap looking.
There's certain mugs which have particular sort of titles attached to them, and the mug that is voted the worst one in the whole of Britain is an oversized mug with Sports Direct written on it.
Why would you have a Sports Direct mug?
I don't know. Sports in blue and direct and red. Now, this, of course, is the entrepreneur and Newcastle United Football Club owner Mike Ashley's business.
Right.
And it says, the branded mug that came free with your new football boots, OK?
Oh, that's probably why so many people have them.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I think I've seen a couple here at Talk Sport, actually.
I've seen them. It says, it is an enormous, vividly coloured, extravagantly branded, thick-rimmed and hideous mug.
Yeah.
Just the thing to give to your builder to show you're a man of the people and bolster your case for beating him down on price. This mug...
This sounds like a very sort of snobbish thing you're mentioning, though.
I think it is.
Your builder. I don't have a builder.
Yeah, well, this is the review in the Times newspaper.
The top people's paper.
That's right,
describe it.
Yeah, this mug says, you may live in a £5 million house in Chelsea, but you are quite strapped for cash and certainly can't afford to go flashing your money about on fancy crockery unless it's a set of Hermes china for kitchen supper. Your builder knows this. That's the final price, right?
Hermes china?
Yeah, Hermes china.
I didn't know they made china.
Now, the most expensive mug is called the Fornasetti Herbal Tea Mug.
The what?
Fornasetti.
Fornasetti.
It sounds Italian, doesn't it? Fornasetti. The Fornasetti Herbal Tea Mug, which costs £112.
For a mug?
Yeah, for a mug.
Well, you'd have to be a mug to buy a mug for 120
And it's
quid.
not even a very big one. I've got a picture of one. You see it there? It's got a face on the front.
Oh, yeah.
See, number 4?
Yeah, that's
right.
Very nice.
Okay.
My favourite mug actually is one that I also got as a gift from Andrew, one of our fans, who brought me that Dean and DeLuca mug.
Oh yeah,
which I drink my tea out of quite often.
Dean and DeLuca. Don't know anything about that, mate.
Yeah, you should do. That's a shop in New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've got you. Yeah, I've got you.
Now we're out of time, unfortunately.
Okay.
So you'll have to stop your ramblings.
Okay, for a sec,
or otherwise for a second.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and that's pretty much it for tonight, I'd have to say. You'll be back at 1 o'clock, of course, for the Porky quiz.
That's it.
Which is on the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Which is the subject
it certainly is.
you requested.
It certainly is.
All that remains to be done, really, is to read a few more.
Well, I've got a lot of appreciation here. A lot of appreciation.
Well, I'm not seeing
and
too much of that.
I appreciate the appreciators, if you see what I mean.
Here's one from Mal, who says the problem is that he thinks everyone thinks the same way he does. Porky should be the new definition of insanity.
Yeah, well...
#plank.
I don't know about that. Lord Rallo says, has Porky hit the midweek wall already?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Another one from Arsenal La Force. Every time I listen to Porky's presenter profile, I have a laugh. He says he can't he can't think of an embarrassing on-air moment he's ever had. He's had 4 tonight.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow the two mics at the two mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.